go to the first conversation.
Start to go along where your proposal and also
we are proposing for Fresh Tone Productions to bring a music package for the Maywood Village, okay? In our package, from the first page, you see where it says performing. We have a sound system that we're going to use. We use a professional sound system when we come. We're going to handle the stage management for you guys, the assistants, the additional, anything that you need. That's what we're going to do. We have our performers that we're going to have perform for you. We have a DJ that's going to DJ for you guys within the package. We have a, we have exercise. This lady is wonderful doing the Zumba stuff. She's going to come do her Zumba extra class out there. And this is for everybody, the whole community in Maywood. The DJ is going to be playing music for the whole community. Sounds of Divinity is a jazz band. Okay, this is for the seniors and for the adults. Anthony M. Yami Marie, she's a Puerto Rican young lady. She's going to come perform. Okay, and Anthony M. is a young man from Maywood. He's doing great things out here in the music industry. He's going to perform. We have T.L. Williams, if you look in there. He's R&B. He's good for the adults and some seniors. We got Rico, Michael Jackson. Most of y'all should know Rico. He usually performs at most of our events. Okay, he's going to perform, okay, for the community. And everybody is high on D-Lo. This is a young man that's very hot right now in the music industry, D-Lo. He got a new D-Lo Shuffle that's out, and the community just loves him. And he's going to perform. Now we have an open mic session. This is where our local artists get a chance to perform and shine. Do they dance acts, sing, play their instruments, or whatever. Go to the next page. I also provided video links to each one of my artists on here that you can actually see them perform. Now originally we had this set for like September the 6th, but that's kind of soon. That's real soon, September the 6th. So we thought about it, it'd be better if we moved the date back to September the 27th. It'd give us more time to promote the event, for more people to hear about the Maywood Fest, for us to get things in order instead of rushing and doing things, to get our sponsors, to get our vendors, and all this stuff together. We even Googled the weather for September the 6th. It's supposed to be 78 degrees out in Maywood. Now, we're going to need everyone's participation. I mean, everyone's participation. We need the whole community. We need the police department. We need the village. Okay, we need the youth. We need all of us. And word of mouth, we need to spread this for this to be successful. We need to spread it. We need to promote it. Whether it's on Facebook, whether it's, like I say, word of mouth, whether it's telling our friends or whatever, newspaper, okay? Now let's get to the actual contract here. Well, this is Fresh Tone Production Music Quest Company. The promoter shall be responsible for the booking and the payment of all DJs and performing artists that are appearing in this event. That's coming out of our fee. We should have access to the venue for setup early. We would like to set up early. Be prepared. We will be responsible for all additional lighting, sounds, and Fresh Tone Productions will be responsible for the promoter. we also should be responsible for any damages and stuff. We have a $1 million policy from State Farm on that. My pastor can speak a little bit more about that at this moment.
Thank you. It's a good opportunity to deal with all of the services and what we're doing. Offer the services and what we're doing. And with the policy, it's going to cover damages and what's going to be covering for the actual event itself, accidental damage, and covering everything with that. So I think what's going to be important is that for this event, that people are protected. So that's what's going to happen with the coverage. I want to say also, just to piggyback on what Fresh Tone was saying, was as far as the entertainment piece, we are going to be promoting this heavily on social media and some of the other local radio stations that we work with. 1390 is a gospel radio station here in Chicago. We just got off the phone with them today, so we're going to be working with them, working with a lot of internet radio stations that we're working with, and promoting this enough to get enough people out. As you guys can see my shirt, we also have a nonprofit organization working with boys and youth. So we're going to bring a lot of the youth out from the organization. We do play productions as well. So we're going to have people coming in from our play production. We had at the South Museum, we had over 800 people show up for that, which was a great success. So we're going to pull our team in from there to help promote and help get the people out for this particular event here in Maywood. So I think with everything coupled together, with the promotions and with the coupling of people that we already have connections with from previous events, I think this is going to be a great success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board?
Madam President,
Trustee
what can we do?
Rivers?
Just one, just to elaborate on your insurance policy, okay? Does that cover bodily harm or anything, God forbid? I just want to know where we are as far as
It
liability.
comes battery harm. One of my speakers falls on someone, they get hurt. They trip over a wire. Any of my equipment damage hurt anyone. That's what that policy covers. Maybe it would cover the other part.
I got you.
That's maybe.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's maybe part.
If there's a trip and fall
Right.
or.
Somebody gets shot in the pies, just say that. I don't even say that, but if someone did something like that, you know what I'm saying? That would fall on your security part. Not, I don't have any.
No, that's what I was asking. I was asking as far as your end of the production, equipment, trip and fall, things of that nature.
Right.
Trustee Carter?
Good evening, Mr. Harris. Shirley Ellie Cross. First question I have is, were you promoting this on your own, or were you asked to promote this on behalf of the village? Because I'm trying to come to the question about this contract, and were you asking the village just for the use of its premises to put this on, or are you looking for us to help finance it?
That's a very good question.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm putting this on behalf of the Maywood Village.
Okay, but are you incurring the cost, or are you presenting this for us to
I'm presenting this for you guys.
do what?
Cover the cost for the event, for the fest. I'm bringing the stage, the sounds, the entertainment, everything. Maybe we're gonna cover that cost. I'm not financially able to cover that cost.
Okay,
That's Maywood part of the venue.
okay. My second question is, have you contacted our law enforcement agency and fire department to discuss security and safety?
Well, the law enforcement, yes, we have. Fire department, they have.
When you say you have law enforcement?
No, law enforcement, we have talked.
Okay.
Okay, I have talked to them.
With the captain or the chief? Or
The chief.
okay. All right. And you haven't talked to the fire department at all?
No, I haven't. And
Okay.
in the past, I have talked to the fire and chief, and they have been out there. This is like my 7th or 8th time doing this event for Maywood. So in the past, I make sure that I have security out there Because the village has security and the fire department plays a part. The whole village plays a part in this, the whole community.
I understand that, but when you are coordinating an event such as this, and you are promoting it, as you have stated you are, you're trying to do the media on the radio, and so if it exceeds the population of the village, okay, then that's an issue that we have to address, and we have to talk about it prior to this becoming official, okay? And so that's why I'm asking these questions, and
I'm
so,
glad you said that because I went through that with Maywood, but I brought Chinky out here. Okay, it was, wow. We was overloaded. Police was overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? They were overwhelmed. We didn't expect so many people to really show for the event, but they did. And the police did a great job of handling it. Okay? They did a very great job of handling it. And it's also about the host. Okay? And who's on that mic, how you control things. Okay, we coming in love, peace, and joy. This is about the community thing. So we trying to keep it like that. We're not trying to promote it where we have 5 million people out there, but however, I do understand if there are overloaded people, I hope the police department prepare for that. We're expecting anywhere from 500 to maybe 3,000 people out there.
500, 3,000? Okay, and so with that, then, my question is, are you planning to talk to the fire department on it as well? Because when you've got that kind of, you know, and we have a climate weather where it can be 55 today and it can be 95 next week. So, with that in mind, if you've got that large population of people, we have to also have a conversation with the fire department as well to make sure that there's that safety, the temperature is high, and you don't want anybody passing out and, you know, needing attention. So when you say liability, and I heard you say, and you correct me if I was wrong, but I thought I heard you indicate that your insurance policy only covers your hired help, and that was it, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and so then, I
That's
guess,
not it. Anything that if someone's fault, anybody couldn't hurt someone. They trip over a wire or they get hurt by anything that I brought out to the stage, fall down while they singing, that type of stuff. My liability insurance cover all of that.
okay, all right, but, so then the question I have for you, Mr. Myers, is, have we had this, reviewed by council? And if so, I mean, are everything, listed here in order? Because generally, contracts with any municipality would be reviewed, and we would get some kind of report to indicate that it has been reviewed and what the, issues, if any, are, or if it's a clearance by council to indicate that everything is appropriate, and then before we make a decision.
In regards to your statement, Mr. Harris, we just met with him yesterday to get clarity on the proposal because it was on the agenda previously, but apparently there was communication where he was not able to make it, but it has been presented to council. We are currently reviewing over everything that's submitted. Now we just get to the nuts and bolts of what is the village cost. That was my concern, was what is the village cost in regard to this. So the answer to your question, it has been submitted.
So, but we're not, this is not up for approval tonight, given that there hasn't been those cost factors as well as the, review by the council? Is that?
It is on the agenda. It was on the agenda last week. It opened to move to the 6th, and I had a conversation with Mr. Harris said there's no way we're going to be able to push this off by the 6th. I don't know, even the 27th, because we have to assess the cost to see what cost the village have to entail on it. There's costs way beyond the $10,000 on this page, even with the various types of booths. And Mr. Harris, could you elaborate on what's taking place that's regarding the vendors and the cost toward the village that taken place last year?
Okay.
Now, the village can recuperate by renting out booths to the vendors at a certain price. We would rent out booths to the, like, you know, people who cook or people who do certain things, okay? Also, I remember we had like a beer truck that was out there. I'm not sure if we still doing that you can make money selling it. If you put your sign out there on the stage, I know that they would definitely give us a discount. But the village can make big time money for that, okay? Selling of hot dogs, pop, you know, this type of stuff. Village can bring in money. You can also have a raffle. You can raffle off something where village can bring in money, recuperate money for the event. Okay, now there are other expenses that the village is gonna cover, like tables and chairs.
Okay. I have
Approximate fee for that. I think it should be in y'all folders if you look. For like 400 chairs, with a cost for 50 tables. This is the approximation now. For the tent rentals, for the porta potties. It total close to $3,000 for all of that. I don't have this listed right here, but I'm bringing a petting zoo. I'm bringing a petting zoo here, and I'm also bringing a car show that's going to be here. They confirmed today that they can make it on the 27th. And that's, we're going to be covered. We handle that cost. That cost is not Maywood. That's out of our contract.
Trustee Cox.
Just given the fact that we were just presented with this
Yes, ma'am.
proposal and not having an opportunity to review it because it is different from what we received last week.
Yes, it is.
And I don't think that we'll have time to go through this entire proposal. But what's the latest that you have to have a decision for approval?
maybe 7 days, you know, so give me time to promote. That is what I have to do. You have to get the people in here. You know,
I can't hear.
I said at least a week. It takes, you know, at least about a week before you get back with me and let me know something. So, cause I have my artists on hold. I have to get them under contract and everything else. And I can't just leave them there waiting, you know, on hold. They gonna move on. So, you know, I need a solid decision.
Thank you.
Trustee Jacob.
Not to put a damper on the proposal, I think the first thing, we put in the cart before the horse. We haven't had a discussion as to whether we would like to have this or what we'd like to have. And certainly if we weigh in on that, I'm sure that you'll be the person to do it because you've done it before.
Yes, ma'am.
But additionally, based on some of the things you have lined up here, we haven't had an opportunity to say some of the things that we would like to see if we proceed with this, particularly since we're putting in some money. You know, where we would like to weigh in on, you know, what type of activities we would like to have for that day, whereas you presented us with a schedule.
right.
But I think that that's one of the issues, and we're kind of sitting up here like, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
we don't
the
really know where
proposed
everything's
schedule,
going
right.
because it's kind of coming to us, and we haven't
Okay.
decided like what's a good day for us or what we think is a good day.
Okay.
You know, so I think that that's one of the things when we're talking about some of the monies and what you plan on having. You know, where the petting zoo is good for the kids, the car show means we have to block off the street in order to put the cars out there. And then if you're looking for that many people to come here, where do we put them? Where do they park? I mean, those are the kinds of things that we have to talk about and try to decide if we're gonna try to control the number of people. Because I mean, 3,000 people here, in addition to the 20+ thousand that we got in the village, that's a lot of people. And that's a lot of work that's put on our law enforcement agency and, law enforcement department and our fire department. So I mean, these are some of the things that we have to weigh in on, even determine if we have to push it so far out in September, will we really get a good crowd and, you know, really get a bang for our buck or what have you. So I think that that's why, yeah, you know, through the promotion and, you know, we will certainly have to look at, as trustee Cross said, you know, the language in the contract, have our attorneys go over it and also weigh in on what we want. Because we haven't even had a discussion and say, you know, hey, we like this lineup, but no, we want to include this or that or whatever. You know, so I think that, and I mean, we're trying to do a lot of stuff here, exercise.
You know, that's why I try to be, you know,
Entertainment, you know.
have something for everyone, from the seniors to the youth, and all in between. We have the church people, okay, there's a couple choirs that's coming out to sing.
You know, because also, when you talk about 3,000 people, that's a lot of tables and chairs. You know, and just a lot of activities we have to have a handle on. So I think, you know, we have to really decide if that's something that we wanna do. So that's my spin on that.
But you know, last time we, done it, we had more than 3,000 people, the tables and chairs, happening, we want to sit down, they want to see the show.
No, that's true.
The 400 chairs was more than enough, they was empty. The car, they parked in the business library, well, along with the field over there. That's where all the cars parked, therefore, that our streets open for access there. Though the cars was parked for the show, they were still able to drive down there. So it's all about how we do it. You know, I'm quite sure we can. If we want to, we can do it.
Trustee
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harris.
Joy?
I just want to make a comment too. As far as what your question was, very good question. I think what happens is normally when you I've dealt with big crowds with promotions and stuff I've done. You know, controlling crowds can be challenging if you don't have a team of people. And I think with the team of people, you know, I have a relationship with all, you know, working with some off-duty Chicago police as well. If we can't get enough, you know, security here in Maywood, we can call some of them in. And then we have potential wristbands to control as far as like how many people that can actually be a part of it as well. So we do have some alternatives for that.
But even when you say wristbands, how do you do that when they're coming from all angles? We don't have a gate. I mean, we don't quarter off anything. So I mean, they're popping in and out all over the place. A wristband just doesn't work for us.
Well, what happens is normally how you would do that is control it by, you know, different teams of people that will, you know, be able to direct the crowd. And by directing the crowd, then you can kind of get an idea of how many numbers you're working with wristbands. That's an alternative, that's an option as well. So I want to answer your question.
Trustee Joy?
I concur with Trustee Cross and Trustee Jaycox, but I have had several working relationships with Mr. Harris. And I just want to put it out there that when we did these events previously, and I think one of the largest groups we had were the Shy Lights. And I know for a fact that there were more than 3,000 people in that park. A lot played on the role from the mayor's office, because once the idea was brought to the board, the mayor's office was able to control like what, when, how, the vendor sales, all of that. And so that's how much of the money that was spent out, not all of it, of course, but much of it was recouped because we were able to sell vendor table, tents, and chairs. And then too, with the crowds, most people brought their own chairs. When people hear things about in the park, they typically don't take a chance on thinking that there is a chair there. So while there are some things that we need to discuss prior to approving this, I am in support of this village doing something before this summer is over. But like Trustee Jaycox said, there's a few details that we need to discuss first.
Madam President.
Trustee Rue?
I too, I'm in full support of the village having some type of outlet. But reading over this invoice, I just have a couple of, on the last page of the invoice, and it states that, you know, it states one portable sink, dual basin, one.
This is just approximation, how much it costs. They were just giving me how much a portable costs. We want 8 of them.
Oh, okay.
We want a total of 8. One with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And also you mentioned 400 chairs. And, this is the cost of the 400 chairs, $400 million. Okay, now, this leads me to this. The two, festivals that I was directly involved in, we had real big problems with that. Okay, I don't know, I mean, like I said, I agree with the other trustees that we need to just fine tune this, tweak this something. Because of people walking off with the chairs and we were liable and we didn't pay. We did pay, but, things of that nature. So, like I said, I'm behind the event itself, but we do need some time to it and, you know, make it right. No one wants a disaster. We don't want it, we're not gonna have it.
Right.
Mayor,
Roger?
just a couple, things, the ID scan, you know, I really don't see how that would really work. And so I think it's important not to over-promote, and I would not recommend radio promotions. You know, I would recommend that it be Maywood and maybe border towns that might hear about it, but I wouldn't want people coming from all over, because that can get away from you really easy. I mean, if it's a Maywood investment, it should be for Maywood, and we don't need radio promotions to get that word out. Now, I think creating promotional materials that can be posted and, but I wouldn't go to the radio, or television to promote a Maywood event.
Any other questions?
Is there gonna be, have there been liquor service at, maybe Trust and Hispanic Fest? Because if there is, we would need to be back with a temporary special event license.
Yes, they've had beer in the past.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oh, trustee.
I didn't hear what Attorney Myers
I was asking if we've served.
I heard that part, but I didn't hear the back end of it.
Oh,
If
because
there-
if there is, we need to come back with a special event license for approval.
Okay, thank you.
And my person, just to add on to that,
Rivers.
if there's gonna be liquor sales, who's gonna control that? Who's gonna control it as a village or?
It is, boy, they had a special big committee or something like that.
Yes, we don't have a time to
We
go
don't
with
have
that. We don't have
that
that.
part, right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that needs to be addressed also, to who would do that, the license and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Mayor.
Trustee, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Trustee.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Harris, for your, information. It's my recommendation that we, take this under advisement and move for discussion at the next LOC meeting.
Second.
Moved in second, and we have a discussion at the next LLOC. And that date would be
September 10th.
September 10th. Call the roll.
Trustee Amy Cross.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobs.
Aye.
Trustee Doris. Aye. Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Next item on the agenda is on the manager's report. We have a presentation by Chief Val Talley, giving recognition to some staff members from some local events that are taking place.
Your Honor, village board members, forgive my voice. I'm losing my voice.
Chief on the water service.
I know.
You want to throw it on?
Just have to guys out, I put a chief make copies of the certificates, put it on the day out for you, for the people that he's honored tonight.
The first thing I want to do is be a little braggadocious about myself and my department. Everybody knows that I'm trying to move the department forward into a professional law enforcement agency. Not that the officers there aren't professional, but we want to make sure that they are more professional. And with that, part of what a leadership do is to develop a legacy, which means that if something were to happen to me, someone could take my place, you know, without cost to the village, or, you know, be a benefit to another community with the type of character and integrity they possess. Everybody knows that when I applied for this position, I was a member of the National Academy. It's a prestigious organization. You just can't apply to it. There's a very rigorous selection process. Only one half of 1% of all law enforcement officers in command positions are able to get into the National Academy. Maywood has a representative that will be in the October 2015 class, session 262, and that's going to be Deputy Chief Elijah Willis. So with that, I would like to have you recognize. You should be up here talking for me. I would like to now ask for the finance director to come up, as well as Lauren Johnson. I don't see it. Did he come in? Okay. And Henry Wallace. On June 21st, as an effort to improve services for the village, the police department put on a program called Operation Connie Pooch. It was so that we could identify animals that were in the village and have them get registered. This could not be accomplished without a cooperative spirit between all department heads. I was able to communicate with the department head for Public Works, Mr. West, department head for Finance, Ms. Satchel, and we cooperatively work together with code enforcement so that we could bring services combined to the village of Maywood. The people that were very highly responsible for the success of that program was Maria Gomez, who's not here because of a death in the family. But in commentary, I just want to tell you that every week I have a meeting with my boss, and as I go up there, I kind of observe what goes on in the environment of 40 Madison. And Maria Gomez, I have had an occasion to experience her interact with people in our community who are bilingual, and she uses that bilingual talent to converse with them and make it easier for them to collect services. In her absence, I would ask her director, her department head, to accept a certificate of appreciation where she held with Connie Pooch. And this says, teamwork is an idea of everyone rallying together to help. Thank you for your participation and your willingness to assist in Operation Connie Pooch Award the 13th day. Well, this was supposed to be last week, but the 13th day of August 2014. The same thing will apply to our code representative, Lauren Johnson, and the certificate says the same thing. Thank you, Lauren. Wow. Well, this is going to Henry Wallace from Public Works. Henry has been responsible for making sure that anytime we have an event, he's available, not only for cleaning up the park behind the department, but for erecting tents and providing just an exemplary level of service. His department head should be complimented, as well as Henry. Thank you, Henry. During MAPS meetings, I had a resident from the 17th, the block of South Maywood Drive, the 1700 block. And we have been addressing a lot of the concerns over there. And as you all know, I had hoped to move over there, primarily because I wanted to be by the Prairie Band, but that sale fell through, so I'm looking at other options. But as we were going out there, we're trying to clean up that area. One officer took an initiative to do additional service, taking their own personal time and effort as well as being out there regularly. I had an occasion to be on one of my walkabouts with Trustee Lightfoot, and we were able to see this officer in action as we talked with some of the residents in the area, and they were complimentary of that type of service. As a leader, this is the kind of buy-in that you want from your officers. If you have a design and a mission, if you have a goal and objective, you want them to take action on it. And we found that in Brian Daniels. So I'd like to ask him to come up and accept a certificate of appreciation, which reads, "In recognition for your outstanding effort and dedication to service in helping clean up the community of Maplewood, Illinois. You have put in endless hours in helping clean up 17th Avenue and Madison Street." But again, the date is different from the day, but Brian? Maybe during the newsletter, you'll see that picture. All right, before I got here, one of the things that I did is start to look at all the systems problems of the police department. Some of the cases we had were unsolved regarding homicides that existed, but they were pending, and they had excellent response as I started to review them. This is something that I'm alarmed about, but I'm also excited about. I'm glad that we have individuals who have a level of expertise to solve our homicides. At the same time, I realize that that expertise will be lost at the end of December. And I hate to see that happen. So we're taking steps so that we can try to capture some of that expertise before it is lost to us forever. But in November of 2011, there was a homicide by the Popeyes Chicken. And it's finally coming to a resolve. And it's coming to a resolve specifically due to the dedication and hard work and effort of Detective Charles Porter. And so I'd like for him to come up and accept a recognition for his tireless effort in working toward identifying the offender in the Popeyes Chicken homicide that took place November 19, 2011, and bringing him to justice. Congratulations on a job well done. When I first got here, Trustee Jaycox, she was getting on a lot of the department heads because she never saw where things were being utilized. And so I took note of that. And so one of the things I decided I was going to do is that if something wasn't happening, I was going to check in to see why it wasn't working. Usually it had to do with financial matters. And about 2 months ago, well, 3 months ago, you all voted for the department to spend several thousands of dollars to buy new overweight equipment. And it's a compliment to your decision making, because instead of having us go and look out and research how to get some used equipment like we did in the past, you allowed us to purchase brand new equipment. And so we've been out there diligently trying to make them work. And we had one officer a couple of weeks ago, and I noted, I sent you all emails on it. Milton Turnage is one of our truck enforcement officers. And he was able to get a truck that was grossly overweight. And the importance of that is that the seating of our streets does not allow for heavy weighted vehicles to travel and traverse upon it. That is why we have pit holes and craters, and that's why the citizens complain about the roadways. You know, it's problematic for me as an enforcement official. It's problematic for Public Works because we're always trying to play catch up. But because of your leadership, we were able to buy that device, and Officer Turnage was able to stop an overweight vehicle, and the results of the fines collected from that one stop, just one traffic stop, was $10,325. That's what they had to do. This is the last one, and then I'll sit down. But, you always see me put out these letters. I don't really put them out. We have a grant from the Illinois Department of Transportation, and what they do is they allow us to have officers on the street, and their overtime and their salaries are picked up by that grant. But we do have one officer, he's not here today. He had to work a double shift, and because he worked a double shift, he was tired. He's got to come back tonight. So I told him I'll get this to him tonight. The Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists sent him a certificate, and I'll read to what it says. The letter says, Dear Chief Talley, on behalf of the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists, it is our greatest pleasure to acknowledge the exceptional DUI enforcement of Sergeant Patrick Granberry by awarding a certificate of appreciation in recognition of these life-saving efforts. Every year, hundreds of people are killed and thousands are severely injured as a result of alcohol and drug-related crashes in Illinois. It takes only seconds to become a victim without warning or choice. Impaired drivers make choices. They choose their weapons, which are vehicles, and alcohol or drugs. We at AAIM pledge to continue our fight against impaired driving and to persist in our campaign of this 100% preventable crime. AIM conducts its annual DUI survey over 700 Illinois police agencies with funding from the Illinois Department of Transportation, wherein we request your department's top DUI officers, which Patrick is one of. In response, we ask that you pay tribute to this fine officer as one of AAIM's top cops with our congratulations and the presentation of the enclosed award. You have our sincere appreciation and heartfelt thanks for exceptional public service. And it's signed Rita Kersling, Executive Director of AAIM. So, this is appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. On the manager's report, item B, number 2, you have consideration of approval to repair a vertical pump by Illinois Pump in the amount of $19,086. Here's the way it begins process. This is found in your packet on page 21. John, will elaborate on your proposal.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, and residents. What was placed before you is a proposal from Illinois Pump to repair pump number 2 vertical turbine pump inside the pumping station. This pump is a 2,000-gallon man pump, down for a little over 2 years. As we looked at the village in the previous few weeks, we started to bust a lot of pipes in it because we're holding a lot of water pressure in the lines overnight. This pump will allow us to go back to a normal pressure to reduce the amount of strains on our system. The original problem with trying to get this pump dealt with was that we couldn't get a vendor to come out to remove it. The pump is placed in 3 sections. It has to be screwed in. One portion has to go in, a clamp has to go in to attach the second portion, and the third portion has to be done the same way. We had to have the motor checked, and before we had any of that done, we had to get the HOA switches, the hand automatic control switches down. So this pump, at this point in time, is a necessity. We need to try and get back into service. It is causing us a bit of a problem. We're currently using our pump number 3, which is a vertical, we have a frequency drive pump that rates up and down on the system, but it puts out a little bit more pressure than we currently need in the system during this particular season. We get over 3,000 gallons a minute, and our pressure in the pipes cannot tolerate more than 52 pounds of pressure. And we're going above that. As you can see, we're busting pipes left and right. We have pipes up and down 19th and Madison. We're currently working over in 9th and Randolph on one right now. We had a break that occurred over 17th and Railroad, which wasn't just one break, it was 3. So we had to fix it over 2 days. At this time, I'll kind of let you, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Get a motion, please. Trustee Rowe.
Madam President, I move to approve the repair of the vertical pump by Illinois Pump in the amount of $19,086 and to waive the bid process.
Second. Then moved in second, and consider to approve to repair the vertical pump by Illinois Pump in the amount of $19,086 and to waive the bid process. Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Lee-Cross,
Aye.
trustee Jacobs.
Aye.
Trustee Doris.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next item we have is our C on the Finance Committee and Management Report. Item number 1, Village of Maywood detailed revenue and expense report for 2 periods ending in June 30, 2014 through 2015. That's found in your packet on page 25.
Are there any questions?
Mayor.
Trustee
Rogers. Okay, on page 25, the miscellaneous item, which is 01-10-30440. And it has it at 934%. So, if you could explain that and how it's gonna be reconciled.
Okay. Actually, the reason this is overstated is because we received $452,000 from our insurance company to pay for the repairs at the 200 building. So we placed it here, until it was time to pay it out, and you'll see part of that in tonight's packet to pay some of those invoices. So if you just, basically subtract $452,000 from what you see here.
I will yield to that fight. I thought I had another item, but I'll have to come back to it. It's a lot of pages.
anyone else?
Mayor,
Trustee Rowe.
I did find that item. It is on page 40. And it is at 87.4%, which is the liability insurance. So if you look all the way over to your right-hand side, it's 87.4%.
Can you give me the account number? Is that a 015?
That is a 01-10-30440. 56-59100.
Okay. The reason why this is where it is because it's split between two funds, the general fund and the water fund. So the down payment and the first payment thus far, was paid out of the corporate fund. We pay, monthly 9 payments, and the remaining, will be paid out of the water fund.
And so we're not concerned about being at that point at this, part of the budget year.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Cox? No.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next item, item number 2, Village of Maywood bank balance, balance report for the period ending in June 30th, 2014 through 2015. That's found in your packet on page 81. 81 at the bottom.
Mayor?
Trustee Rod?
The reason for highlighting the tax anticipation note from Hinsdale would be,
Because, this was from last season, our previous tax anticipation, I'm sorry. The current one is with Seaway Bank. So this was just indicating that, there's $100,000 left in that account.
Okay. Item number 6 on the agenda is approval of minutes for the regular board meeting of trustees for July 15, 2014. County packet on page 82.
Trustee?
No, make a motion to approve the, regular board meeting minutes from Tuesday, July 15, 2014.
Second.
The move in second that the, board meeting be approved for July.
July 15th, there.
July 15th. Are there any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Ely Cross,
Aye.
trustee Jacob,
Aye.
trustee Dorance. Aye. Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
Aye.
Same item number 6, we look for board approval for a special board meeting to approve the minutes for a special board meeting from July 12, 2014. That's found in your packet on page 92.
move for the approval of the special board meeting minutes for Saturday, July 12th.
Second.
The move in second, approval of minutes for the regular board meeting, trustees, special board meeting, Saturday, July 12, 2014. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Ely Cross.
Aye.
Trustee Jacob.
Abstain.
Trustee Dorance. Abstain. Trustee Lightfoot.
Abstain.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Right.
I'm sorry, trustee Rogers.
Aye.
I apologize. Mayor Perkins.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 7, approval of warrant. A, warrant list 200374 for the Village of Maywood expenditures total through August 19, 2014 in the amount of $1,574,085.10. That's found in the packet on page 95.
Move move to approve the warrant list number 200374 for the Village of Maywood expenditures totaling through August 19th, 2014 in the amount of $1,574,085.10.
Second.
Been moved and second that the warrant list number 200374. Yeah. For the Village of Maywood expenditures total through August 19, 2014, in the amount of $1,574,085.10. Are there any questions?
Madam President, Madam President, I'd like to, excuse me, on this warrant list, 83467.
What page is that?
I'm sorry,
95 on the side.
95.
About 95. Trustee, you have a question regarding, I'm sorry.
Yes, this item, this is in the mayor's office, for temporary staffing. And we have a executive assistant that is there, and this is quite a bit of money. Why was this needed?
Yes, Mayor, please.
This was done because of the fact that we ran the summer youth program. And the secretary could not do both jobs. And whether the people realized it or not, we had 60 days for this program. So we could not, we had to use additional people for this. So that's why you have this amount in this, and the program ended Friday.
Madam President.
No problem. Trustee Williams.
Now, it's my understanding that, first of all, that program is not supposed to run out of any elected official's office. Secondly, if the executive secretary for the trustees and the board president is doing two jobs, I still don't understand why we're talking about temporary staffing. I just don't get that. I mean, I understand what you said. She's running that program and she's doing her job, executive secretary.
She's doing her job, and we had to get help for the program.
I don't think you should run to that summer program. We did allocate $35,000 for administration and board.
Trustee Doyle.
Is there any way that, say the staffing company would do the assistant's job, could that not have come out of if she was, who got paid doing the summer work program stuff?
Well, it's my understanding that Isaiah Brandon was working on that, and Tony Sanchez were the two people that we charged, their salaries from the program. If you were proposing that these, charges, there's multiple, if they're related to that program, you charge that program, I don't know if that's what I'm hearing.
I think trying to get to. Anybody who worked with that program should be paid from that program, because as it stands right now, if those are the only two people that were allocated to work with that program, then we're paying a regular salary to the executive assistant, and we're paying a staffing company to do the same thing that the executive assistant is supposed to be doing. I mean, that, I might not be understanding it, and I get that she helped with the program, but whatever she did with the program, it would make sense to me for her to get paid out of the program. And if you needed the staffing company to come into your office, then this should be paid out of her fund? Is this paid out of the general fund?
It's paid out of the, presidents and trustees, fund. It's not the contractual services for the entire department, which is president and trustees.
Trustee Crawford.
Ms. Satchel, you just indicated that Isaiah Brandon and Tony Sanchez, could you confirm out of what funds they were paid?
They were paid out of the $35,000.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that.
Well, Tony hasn't been paid yet, only, Isaiah Brandon.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Here's a different one. Wait, thank you.
Thank you, Lanier. Next item is old business. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Call the roll.
Trustee Ely Cross?
This is for the warrant.
Yes.
Aye.
Trustee Jay Cox?
Aye.
Trustee Doris? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot? Trustee Rivers?
No.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Lanier. Item number 8, old business. Seeing none. Moving on to the omnibus. We have the omnibus, item number 9. We have letters A through double E. A through double E.
Move for the approval of the omnibus agenda items A through double E, minus BB.
What we're doing?
Everything except BB.
Okay, get a second, and, anyone else have, the floor? Let's get a second, please.
Madam President,
Trustee
Mayor?
Light.
just the questions on T,
Okay, now, give me a second and then the floor.
I'll amend my motion when I finish with that.
Okay.
So you want T,
U, and X.
What was that last one?
X.
You as an umbrella,
T, U, and X.
S as in Sam.
Exit.
U,
X's and X's.
Xavier. So,
No, Sam.
No, he's gonna amend his motion once he gives
Are you gonna take them all before he makes it? Okay. Mayor?
Okay, trustee Crawford.
Mayor, H as in Harold, N as in Nellie,
You said N?
N as in Nellie,
Okay.
O as in opera,
Okay.
V as in Victor. CC.
Mayor, I'm not being full, but I would like to have a discussion on C, follow up from last LOC.
C?
Yes. Well, I said C, I'm sorry, Z is in zebra.
Oh.
So Mayor, I then would amend my motion to, have the, omnibus agenda approved with the exception of items H, N, O, T, U, V, X, Z, double B, and double C.
Second.
Did you include these? Did you include V? As
V is in Victor, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Motion to approve omnibus agenda except T, U, X, H, N, O, B, Z, C, C, B, B. Now, the first one, yeah, call the roll.
Trustee Lee Cross,
Aye.
trustee Jaycox, trustee Doris,
Aye.
trustee Rogers,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot, trustee Rivers,
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
Aye.
Item 9H, consideration to approve payment to the City of Chicago, Department of Water, for water provided by the City of Chicago from July 10, 2014 to August 18, 2014, in the amount of $604,053.60. Found in packet on page 140.
Move for the approval of the payment to the City of Chicago Department of Water in the amount of $604,053.60.
Second.
Then moved in second, consider to approve payment to the City of Chicago Department of Water for water provided by the City of Chicago 7/10/14 to 8/18/14 in the amount of $604,053.60.
Mayor,
Question.
I'd like to know, are we behind in our water payments again, and if so, why?
Sorry about that. No, we're not behind. I've placed the call myself and had our AP administrator call to see exactly what's needed to get that wiped off. We talked to them about a month ago and there was a discrepancy. They actually called us. So we've been, working on it. They will remove a portion. And this goes back to when we did have our payment arrangement. They were to waive the penalties during that arrangement. They've removed some, they haven't removed the rest, and there isn't one person that we've talked to, so it's like starting over almost every time we place that call. So we'll definitely get that resolved in the next 30 days.
Is it within the next 30 days?
Yeah. I hope by the time the next bill, that's why I said 30 days, when you see the next bill, we should have all that cleared up.
Do we have anything in writing that the City of Chicago has given us to indicate that they are waiving these penalties?
I believe it was indicated in our arrangement, but that was 2 years ago. So, like I said, they removed a portion of them, but I think it's the ones that were accruing during our payment plan is the ones that are in question. It's so far back now that it's kind of getting confusing, so every time we talk to someone, we're starting over and what they're seeing and what we thought, was our starting point. So we're working on getting that resolved. We start and then we kind of stop, but we'll get it done this time for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Ely Cross,
Aye.
trustee Jacobs, trustee Doris, trustee Rogers,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot, trustee Rivers,
Aye.
Mayor Perkins. Motion carries.
Item N, consideration to approve payment to Klein, Thorpe and Jenkins for legal retainer service rendered during June 2014 in the amount of $13,328.50. It's found in your packet on page 160.
Move, Mayor, move for the approval of the Klein Thorne Jenkins, services rendered bill for $13,328.50.
Second.
The move in second, consider to approve payment to Klein Thorpe Jenkins for legal retainer service rendered during June 2014, amount of $13,320.50. Question.
I pulled it for a vote.
Call the roll.
Trustee Ely Cross,
No.
trustee Jacobs, trustee Doris, trustee Rogers,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot,
Aye.
trustee Rivers,
Aye.
Mayor Perkins,
Aye.
motion carried.
Item O, consideration to approve payment to Klein, Thorpe and Jenkins for legal service rendered during the month of June 2014 in the amount of $18,589.60.
Move to approve payment to Klein Thorpe and Jenkins for legal services rendered during the month of June 2014 in the amount of $18,589.60.
Second.
And consider to approve payment to Klein Thorpe and Jenkins for legal service rendered during the month of June 2014, the amount of $18,589.60. Question.
Mayor,
Trustee Cross.
given we still do not have a contract with Klein Thorpe and Jenkins, I call this for a vote.
Call the roll.
Trustee Ely Cross,
No.
trustee Jacobs, trustee Doris, trustee Rogers,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot,
Aye.
trustee Rivers,
Aye.
Mayor Perkins,
Aye.
motion carried.
Item T, consideration to approve payment to USA Water and Fire Restoration for the services and repairs rendered for the Boys and Girls Club in the amount of $452,207.43. This item is found in your packet on page 212.
Mayor,
Oh, do the motion, do that.
I think we'll make a motion for the USA Water and Fire Restoration for service and repair administered Boys and Girls Club amount of $452,207.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve payment to USA Water and Fire Restoration for services and repairs rendered for the Boys and Girls Club in the amount of $462,207.23. Question. Now,
This Boys and Girls Club, is this Trinidad?
yes, it is.
But it doesn't say Trinidad, it's Boys and Girls Club. We have no Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Club years ago was sent to Bellwood when they closed it down and haven't been back since.
Yes.
But it's not Boys and Girls Club. We need one.
Now, I have a question. I understand that now, Mr. Myers, they're saying it's not gonna be ready for like October.
Mayor, I have not received that date. I personally walked the place yesterday, and I was disappointed how far they've not got along as far as the amount. I talked to Mr. West, and I did give USA a call today to reach out to them and get a timeline. But I will be setting up a meeting with them to get the project moving along. It's taking too long. It shouldn't have taken the amount of time it's taken. So I have not received that date, unless you just received that today.
Okay, no, they understand I was given that they only have 2 people in the building that's working, and that's why it's taking so long. And people have observed that. We had a conversation about why is it taking so long. They said it'd be ready like August, now August and turned in. Someone said something about October, so we definitely need to reach out to them, because they said they only got 2 guys working in the building, that's why it's taking so long. Okay, call the roll.
Mayor,
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna bring a point out that trustee Lightford about, it's important that we not use the name of Boys and Girls Club as an actual entity that exists in other places. But the other part is about the other document we have here. The bulk of that payment, and I don't know who's to speak to this, but the bulk of that payment are to insurance claims. So this is basically reimbursable money from the insurance claim. So who's gonna speak to this? Who's in position to speak to?
I can, I mean, to a point, I can.
Okay, so there are 4 items on the payment approval document. We have, 2 of them are deductibles, the other 2 are claims. The aggregate of the 2 claims is in the neighborhood of 345,000-ish. So the remainder, well, the difference between that and 452,000, what accounts for that? And I guess I'd also, in light of this do not be happy with the progress, what is the remaining balance for that work? I want to make sure that we don't go too far with the payments, being that we've got to get some satisfaction.
Okay, what I understand, placed on the agenda was the full amount of the money that we received. So when we, received their invoice, we wouldn't have to come for approval. So we wanted to put out there that we received $452,000 and to get approval to pay them upon, invoicing. They did give us an invoice, but there's 2 claims for the $10,000, which is our portion, the village's portion, to pay. And, they also submitted invoices for partial work on both claims, one being the gym floor, and then the other part being the rest of the building. So they, on here, you'll see a check payment, and that was for, partial payment of the work that they've done.
Yeah, I see those 2 items. And so.
So I've talked to them directly because the invoices that they initially submitted weren't, descriptive enough. And so we've worked on making sure that they've itemized the invoice to reflect what the insurance company, has indicated that they will pay. And then John actually signs off on the invoice to make sure the work is done. So I'm just working with them because they're trying to push me to, give them the money since they know that the insurance company has given it to us. Whereas, I mean, from my seat, I still have things that I have to go through before I can release the payment. And that's to make sure I have proper backup. And so that part of it, he doesn't understand. He just thinks that I should just give him money. But I did want to have it approved, so when we do come to a meeting that we agree on the work that they've done and how they've invoiced us, then we'll have the ability to pay. Because this last time, they needed money to, purchase the flooring, because the contractor that they had, the subcontractor, they had scheduled months out, and if they didn't have the money, that person wouldn't be able to come back until the end of September. So we didn't want to hold up, the process for that, and it was only 50% of the work, of the money that they requested, and that was just the material that was for.
Trustee Cross.
But to the work, and to the quality of the work, that's not my money, not this.
Trustee Cross.
My question is, what does the contract say in terms of how we pay them?
It was a claim, and the paperwork that I have from the insurance company, it spells out like what it, the description, if it's removal of the bleachers and replacement of the bleachers, $1,500.
No, that's not my question. My question is, what does the contract say
I'm not aware of any
for
contract.
USA
I'm not
Water?
aware of any contract.
We don't have a contract for $450-some thousand?
When it's going through insurance, it is a claim.
the insurance company is reimbursing us for our damages. The question I'm asking is, when we contract and get someone to come in and do the repairs, we don't have a contract that we want certain things done, and as a result of it, we will pay out of the premiums that we receive for reimbursement?
Trustee Cross, I'll get back with you with that. John West was handling the project. We'll make sure I get that information to you.
Okay, so, but the question I have is this on the table tonight to approve the payment? So if that's a question that is out here, we don't have an answer. Can I ask, is that you, Trustee Rogers?
Move to table the item.
Second.
Is it moved and seconded, the item be tabled?
Who's second?
Aye.
Crosby. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobs? Trustee Joyce? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item U, consideration of approved payment to the Village of Melrose Park for a water pump from the Village of Melrose Park in the amount of $123,246.42.
Make a motion to approve payment, to the Village of Melrose Park for water pump from Melrose Park, in the amount of $123,246.42.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve payment to the Village of Merrill Park for water pump from the Village of Merrill Park in the amount of $123,246.42. Are there any questions? Trustee Light.
This bill is $123,246, which is, it said, it doesn't give me a time period. Is this a time period or one single job? How do we go out and give this much money? Is this a time period from one period to the other to pay the water bill, or is it being repaired again?
Page 220.
I'm sorry, Trustee White, can you repeat that question for me?
You want to know the period that it's
Period.
covered.
You said it's on page 220, I didn't see that.
A portion of it is from May 25th to June 24th, and June 25th to July 24th.
Thank you.
So it's half, about 63,000 in May, and then the remainder in June.
So this is 2 months.
Yes, 2 months.
Are there any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Okay, trustee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobs?
Aye.
Trustee Joyce? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item V, bids and Victor. Consideration to approve payment to Current Technologies for monthly equipment, labor, maintenance, surveillance support, and maintenance agreement in the amount of $8,928.04. That's found in package case 223.
Move to approve payment to Current Technologies for monthly equipment, labor maintenance, surveillance support, and maintenance agreement in the amount of $8,928.04.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to consider to approve payment to Current Technology for monthly equipment, labor, maintenance, surveillance, support, and maintenance agreement in the amount of $8,920.04. Are there any questions?
Mayor?
President.
Trustee Paul, and then after that, trustee.
My question is, what's the status of the cameras? And we haven't seen the representative in the last few months, so, can we get an update on where we are with this? Are all the cameras operating as the contract indicates?
Absolutely, ma'am. They started, everything was working effective Memorial Day weekend, as promised. We were waiting for higher resolution with the transition of Comcast system from the AT&T, so we go up the T1 line, and that is being occurred. I've offered up an opportunity for the citizens as well as the board members to go into the telecommunications room and see. The last time I reported to you, the only thing was that because of roof conditioning, we have 2 monitors that are out, but the cameras would be reflective on that. We can still pull the cameras up anywhere that they were located, on the remaining monitors. As far as CTC coming out, we required them after Memorial Day weekend to come out and be present. But if you would like that, I can make sure that they come out.
Already know we had a cutoff date. They had indicated that they would come out. I didn't know there was a timeline. We wanted to make sure that the cameras were operating consistently, and so, that's just a safety check.
Oh, yeah, well, we do. That's why staff are obligated to make notifications anytime that we have any kind of complaint. Tina Benjamin is the assigned staff, and she contacts them, or if anybody lets me know or makes me aware that there is a camera down, we take a look at them and we call them, and they're right out. So far, we haven't had any problems, especially with the new server that's in place.
Okay, you indicated that 2 cameras were out because of roof conditioning, and I guess that's
No monitors now.
the monitors.
Yeah, the monitors.
Are they still out?
Well, yes. Until we get the roof fixed, it's difficult to put the monitors back up in place because water will drip in from the rooftop onto the monitors. One, I think we'll have to replace because the water has it hissing. But that wouldn't be CTC, that's on our back.
Okay, and Mr. Myers, what's the time frame for getting this roof fixed so that all of our cameras and monitors are functioning properly?
But currently, right now, the architect is coming out surveying the roof, and after that, we're gonna get an RFP for a contractor to come out. As far as the timeline, I'll have to get that for you.
Okay, thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Myers.
Any other questions?
Trustee Lee
Oh,
Cross?
no, sorry, Mr. Chamberlain. Okay.
Trustee Lee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobs?
Aye.
Trustee Doris? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot? Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item X, consideration to approve payment to Heisman Architect for the completion of the Maywood Masonic Hall study under the IHPA grant in the amount of $5,000. And just for the public benefit, this is the 200 South Fifth Building. This is found in your packet on page 232.
Move for the approval of the payment to Heisman Architects in the amount of $5,000 under the Illinois Historic Preservation Association grant.
Second.
Been moved and second to approve payment to Heisman Architects for completion of the Maywood Masonic Hall study under IHPA grant, amount of $5,000.
Motion by trustee Rogers and second by trustee Lightfoot.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
Mayor, Trustee Cross. Is this is the 200?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, I see that, Heisman is doing both buildings, okay. All right, no questions.
Are there any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobs?
Aye.
Trustee Doris? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item Z, consideration to approve the revised version of honorary street sign designation and application and policy. This item was discussed at the LOC meeting on Wednesday, August 13, 2014. Found in packet on page 240. Just for discussion at the last LOC, the board directed the attorney to make some language change. Just want to make sure that we highlight that, Mike, and also to make sure that we make the motion as though it is an ordinance also attached, all right?
Right, absolutely. And if you recall with the LLOC, we talked about the application fee and returning the bulk of that in the event that the application was ultimately not approved. So that didn't affect the ordinance at all. The ordinance is the same one that you saw at LLOC because that didn't talk about the application fee. But in the application and policy itself, you'll see several places where we struck the term non-refundable application fee, and we talk about what that covers, and then we specify if the application is not approved, the application fee shall be refunded to the applicant with the exception of $50, which shall be retained by the village as a process.
So I understand the revised application found on page 247, and we had lengthy discussion about the language. Want to make sure the board's okay with language.
Make a motion to approve the, revised ordinance and policy regarding honorary street sign designation, and also the, approval of the noted dollar amounts in the application.
Been moved in second, approve the revised version of honorary street sign designation, application policy, and the ordinance, and the approval of the dollar amount for August 13, 2014 was the discussion. Are there any questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lee Cross,
Aye.
trustee Jacobs,
Aye.
trustee Dorr, trustee Rogers,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot,
Aye.
trustee Rivers,
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item BB, consideration of approval of a bond ordinance entitled an ordinance providing for the issuance of up to $7 million of general obligation. 17 million general obligation refunding bond series of 2014 of the Village of Maywood, Cook County, Illinois, for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal of interest of said bond. This item also was discussed at our August 13, 2014 LOC, found in packet page 253.
Mayor.
Somebody.
Rogers.
Roger.
I would move for the approval of the bond ordinance and provision for the issuance of the $17 million general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2014, and for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on those bonds.
Is there a second?
Cross. Been moved and seconded to consider of approval of bond ordinance entitled an ordinance providing for the issue up to 17 million general obligation refund bond, series 2014, Village of Maywood, Cook County, and for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on these bonds. Are there any questions?
Mayor?
Trustee Rogers.
I would just like to point out that the reason behind this proposed measure is to, in fact, if we could have the finance director speak to the virtues of this particular measure.
Initially, we sought to refinance the bonds because the interest rates are lower from what they were when we initially got the bond in 2005. And because we would have a large payment due towards the end of the payment series, we thought it would be a good idea to refinance as well. The option we chose was to extend it one extra year because we're having cash flow issues currently. And this way it would give us more money to do things with, like, pay our bills more time and still receive lower interest had we not refinanced at all.
thank you, I thought it was important to clarify the advantages of doing this.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Ely Cross.
Aye.
Trustee Jaycox.
Aye.
Trustee Doris.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Alright.
Trustee Rivers.
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
No.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mayor. Item CC, consideration to approve the proposal for architectural services for the rehabilitation of the front porch at the Soldiers Widows Home located at 224 North First Avenue in the amount of $7,500 by Heitzman Architecture. This item was discussed at the August 13th LOC meeting.
Mayor,
Trustee Rogers.
I would move for the approval of the proposal for architectural services as a means for the rehabilitation of the front porch of the widow's home, or the Soldiers Widow's Home, 224 North First Avenue, in the amount of $7,500 by Heitzman Architects.
Second. Been moved and second to approve the proposal for architectural service for rehabilitation of the front porch at the Soldiers Widows Home, 224 North First Avenue, amount of $7,500 by Heinz Architects. Are there any questions?
Mayor,
Trustee Cross.
this building was built in 1924, or somewhere around that period of time. And, it has been inoperable for a number of years. So my question first, before we take a vote on this is, has the building department surveyed the building for any code violations, interior code violations?
Trustee Cross, I'm not aware that the actual building department surveyed for code violations. However, monies are set aside out of the TIF, St. Charles TIF, to actually clean the building up inside. There's a number of items that need to be addressed. That's what I can see on that item.
Mayor, next question.
Trustee Cross.
Has the current conditions of this building been brought to the attention of the American Disabilities Act coordinator? And has he or she inspected the property, interior and exterior?
No, Trustee Cross, I'm not aware of have an ADA representative been out to inspect the building.
Okay, so until we have code violations and be presented with a cost of code violations assessed, example, plumbing, approximately $40,000, electrical wiring, maybe $30,000, and so on and so forth. Why would we spend money, or the question I'm gonna ask is that sprucing of the outside, would it have a great impact on us selling the property or bringing it when we don't know what the interior issues are? I mean, because I gave you two examples. I've heard you say that there is no report, we've not inspected it, so where are we gonna spend money on the outside and we don't even know what the condition is? It's an old building, I understand it's, interest and love from the community perspective, but on the other hand, we do have to talk about the dollars that would cost to put it in a position where we could sell it, if that is what we decide to do. And so the question I have is that, is this sprucing up on the outside going to give it all that we need to bring attention to it when we don't know what the condition is on the inside? Being a 1924 building, it is likely to have some issues that are going to be costly. And so with that, why are we going to spend this money to do a outside job?
Well, currently the condition of the place, Trustee Cross, it's unsafe as of right now. The front porch is caving in. We're gonna put the property on the market. We're gonna have developers and builders walking through there. It's a liability on us. In regards to inside the building, it needs to be cleaned up. There's a number of items in there that needs to be addressed. The reason it is on the agenda, you as a board took action for budgeting monies to address the building, not along with the outside and the inside of the building.
But putting this investment on the outside and doing a cosmetic and not knowing what the true costs are from the inside is like putting lipstick on a pig. okay? And so I just don't understand why we're gonna spend that kind of money when we still don't have an answer to what those true costs are from the inside. And that's the cost that we would have to make.
Well, this item one on the agenda is a proposal for you as a board to make a decision on.
That's why I'm making a decision.
Monies was budgeted by my predecessor, so I was carrying out, making sure that the monies that we have allocated in St. Charles are spent based on what was allocated. And if we as a village need to improve our own property, I think that's something we need to do, but it's up to you as a board to make that decision.
Mayor, I just want to have one other point. You know, I think that we should be tired of paying engineers, architects, and attorneys and other consultants out of our TIF funds when we don't see any true value in the costs that are coming from those expenditures. That's mine.
Mayor?
Any other?
I believe it needs a complete inspection of the building to determine what its code standards are and what we're lacking. And that report needs to come back to this board. And keep in mind, you know, I mean, we have a lot of buildings. We have been hit, as well as across America, since 2008. Many buildings across the nation have been damaged or have been sitting idle for many, many years. And they're not going to be kept up. They're taking buildings down. There's a cost factor. There's potential for asbestos and all these other issues. And so until we find out what those costs are, I'm just not understanding why we want to spend this money like that.
Mayor, a few points. First, it is important to understand that there have been a number of architects. Basically, architects are the ones who are entrusted within our society. They have a license that declares that they, to the best of their knowledge and ability, but is extensive when it comes to buildings, that they are upholding that. So there's at least 4 architects that there's 2 firms that were in the study that were presented at the LLOC meeting that we just had. Both of those concurred that this building has potential, has good bones, quote, and is in good order to be restored, should a developer be prepared to do that. Mr. Heisman himself is an architect and has concurred with that recommendation, has gone in, taken a look at that, and knows of its potential. And I myself have been in the building and know that this building can be redeveloped into that. So there's at least 4 different architectural entities that have done that, all who have a license and expertise to be able to make that statement. When it comes to accessibility, that is through the American with Disabilities Act, is administered by the Department of Justice. When a building is not open, it's not occupied, it does not need to be. There is no need for it to be accessible at that time. It's when you redevelop and you reopen it, that's when you have to have those measures put in place. And you will not get building permits until you do that. And that's not, by the way, that's not a code that's anywhere in America for at least a certain types of building, which is almost every type of building. So that is not an issue for a building that is not functional. If you have a pig in Maywood, it's important that you put perfume and lipstick and everything else. We don't want pigs, is the point. Okay, and we don't want any citizens, we don't want any businesses, and we should not ourselves stand for buildings in disrepair. They've been in disrepair. We are here now. We are responsible for leading by example and to make a modest, and we're very, very fortunate that TIF funds allow that to be done and don't have to come from your taxes base. It comes from this fund that has been collected over that number of years for those specific purposes, to inspire and stimulate redevelopment and cleaning up your infrastructure and your buildings. Just as we spent a number of money putting up street lights and fixing up the curbs and the sidewalks and all those other things that would be piggish, we gotta get it cleaned up. The opportunity is before us. The funds are there, they've been allocated, and there really is no good reason to stall with moving forward to practice what we preach. The experts have looked at it, the funds are there, no reason to hold up, none.
Mayor,
Trustee Cross.
I'm just gonna say 20 years of TIP funds, and look around you folks, and tell me what do you see for those dollars? Thank you.
Mayor, all I know is that we can't live in the past and expect to make progress. We got people in place who know how to do this. We got a proposal in front of us. I don't know that we ever had that. We got it. We're right there. And what causes things not to happen are all of these stall techniques. Okay? It's right there for the grasping. We want to reach back and talk about what happened way back when we weren't here to be responsible for that. But we are now. And I'm here now. And I know it needs to be fixed. We're going to take every measure to fix everything that needs to be fixed. That is what we raised our hand and said that we would do. Not to go back 20, 10, 15, or even 8 years ago. We're here now, and we need to do better.
Mr. Mike.
Mayor, I don't mean to belittle the conversation, but Mark Lucas, can you kind of comment on the assessment that has been done on the building? You're a little more familiar with it than I am. That way, just for the board, kind of bring the board up here.
As some of you may recall, in 2004, the building was actually put out to contract for demolition. And at that time, there was abatement of the asbestos material that was inside the building that had to be done before the building was demolished. As they approached the demolition date, the village board at that time decided that they did not want the building knocked down, that they wanted to preserve that building. As Trustee Rogers alluded to, is there are ADA issues inside that building, but it's a closed building. It doesn't need to be compliant with the ADA code until you actually know what the interior use of that building is going to be. There's no accessibility into that building other than to develop it or to complete these repairs that are necessary, leaky roofs, falling down porches. And then as far as code enforcement, there is no functional electrical, there's no functional water inside of that building at this time. If you're inside there, there are no sinks or faucets that are going to work. Water is shut off to the building. It's because those systems are not in a condition that would support its use. So that has to happen when there's a development. You can go in and have your code department go through, but it'll need an extensive list that will all have to be addressed by a developer for their last intended use. So the decision really is, if you're gonna maintain that building, one of the issues is the facade of that building that Bill Barlow had indicated is that porch is rotting, it's falling. And at a certain point, when it falls, it's gonna be a significant issue for the village to have to address. So I think that was the intention behind getting that as an item for the TIF expenditures while they were still available, was to preserve the facade of the building and keep that porch from falling on itself. So those were the issues that were out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lee Cross?
No.
Trustee Jaycox?
Aye.
Trustee Doris? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mark. Well, that concludes our omnibus agenda. We're going to move into the new business. And on the new business, item A, consideration to approve the Village of Maywood Fire Department to secure finance to acquire a new ambulance, entering into an agreement with Kansas State Bank, which has provided the Village of Maywood a government obligation contract. This item is found in your packet on page 336. We have Chief Rono, along with Lonnie here, if you have any questions.
Motion to approve the Village of Maywood Fire Department to secure financing to acquire a new ambulance, entering into an agreement with Kansas State Bank, which has provided the Village of Maywood a government obligation contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that approve the Village of Maywood Fire Department to secure financing to acquire a new ambulance and into an agreement with Kansas State Bank, which has provided the village of Maywood a government obligation contract. Are there any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Lee Cross,
No.
trustee Jacob,
Aye.
trustee Doris,
Aye.
trustee Rogers,
Aye.
trustee Langford,
Aye.
trustee Rivers,
Aye.
Mayor Perkins.
No.
Motion carried.
Next item under new business is for discussion, consideration, discussion, design schematics for the two alternatives for the Metric train station for recreation purposes for the village of Maywood. This item is found in your packet on page 354. So we have representatives here, FMG Architects, Ronnie Ratcliffe, along with Christopher Burke Engineering, Mark Thomas. Gentlemen, you guys want to come up and introduce yourselves? You have them in a good place so we can see them? Board, it is finally a packet on page 354, the options.
My name is Mark Thomas, I'm with Christopher Burke Engineering. We've been working on the design of the Maywood Metro Station. We have been making good progress. We've submitted a 30% preliminary plan submittal to Metro, and they've given us their comments. We've addressed those comments moving forward with our design. Currently, we're waiting for the Union Pacific Railroad to make a decision. Union Pacific Railroad would like to add a third track to the north of the existing two tracks, which we have known from the beginning of the project. The issue is the actual location of those tracks. There's two different spacings that are under consideration right now. One is a 15-foot track center from the existing north track, and the other is a 22-foot track center from the existing northernmost track. And depending on the track spacing that is selected, it's going to impact the design of the building, which we need to account for so that when the third track goes in, we don't have to demolish the building and start over again. There's currently no timetable for the construction of that third track. It's probably far out in the future given the size of the project that it's going to be. And there's also no timetable for the decision on the exact location of that track. We have been asking Metro to push me to make this decision, but so far I've gotten no responses. We've also sent them our preliminary submittal and got no response from the actual design changes based on the track spacings from a civil perspective are somewhat minimal. There's going to be some rearrangement of some lamps. Most of the design changes are based on the building itself, which is, Brian can speak to a little bit more detail, but it's going to be primarily a smaller building because we have less room to go with the 22-foot track center. Brian, if you want to describe the building.
Good evening, Ryan Rathman with FGM Architects. As Mark had indicated, we're working on developing two consecutive schematic designs, one based on the 15-foot center track-to-track and one based on the 22. Basically, if Union Pacific decides to go with the larger track spacing, it's going to limit the amount of space on the platform, ultimately limiting the amount of space for the building itself. What we've done, and I believe it's in all of your packages, both options are fairly similar. The layout's a long linear building with a large space in the middle for waiting area, conditioned space for waiting. One side will have a mechanical room to handle the heating and that equipment, and then the other side of the space will have a janitor closet, regular upkeep of the space. In the option one that's on the front board right here, some of the differences that the one currently shown is the 15-foot center, so which would belong to a larger platform, a little bit larger building. Basically, the difference in the depth of the building is about center tracks, it's allowing for a larger overhang on the exterior of the building, as well as allowing the overhang on both ends of the building. I can just change this real quick. If you start to take a look at the second option, you can see a similar aesthetic. The overhangs reduced from 4 foot shown on the first one to 2 foot on the second one due to the limitations that Metro imposes in encroaching on the track. And because of the limited size of the platform with the larger spacing, you'll see on the second option only having an overhang on the west side of the track. So again, both very similar, only kind of a prairie-esque style into the building. Low slope roof for shedding water, snow, as well as brick and concrete masonry unit construction in order for high durability and easy maintenance of the building.
We're going to continue to press Metro to try and get a decision on the track centers. But right now, we can't move forward with the final design until we know the spacing that we're going to use. Any questions?
Trustee Dorr?
And you stated earlier that they have not given you a definitive time in knowing when this third rail is going to happen?
Yes. So what we would do is for the construction, we would do an interim construction. So we set the building, we redo the platform, and then when the third rail came in, the building would stay, and the platform would have to get reconstructed because of the third rail. So we are anticipating that would be, the third rail would go in after the station would be approved. And we don't know when that's going to happen. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years.
Trustee Cross?
Excuse me, that last part, could be 5, it could be the delay, are you saying?
No, I'm talking about the construction of the third rail, not the delay.
Oh, okay. Just one other question. We're waiting on the railroad to decide where that's going. But the question that I have is in terms of the size, for the public, can you give us a guesstimate of approximately how large the unit was initially, and then, so if it was 50 by 30 feet or whatever, because perhaps they aren't privy to all of that. If you could just tell them, and then how, with the change with the rail, the third rail, how much smaller that would be, and then if you can give an example, if you have had this kind of experience where you've done it in another municipality where a situation like this occurred, so we can kind of process that.
There would be no size difference
No change.
between the options of if they did put a third rail in and if they did. We have to design it, assuming that they're going to, or else the building could end up having to be replaced when they did put a third rail.
Okay, well, let me phrase this a different way. When you initially presented this to the board, you talked about building the station, okay? And so we were talking about some dimensions and size, okay? And it was based on the way the rails are right now. And now we're learning that there's some alteration here with the third rail, the potential for the third rail. And so all I'm trying to do is better understand what that change and how it would impact the size and, the number of residents who would be able to stand there waiting on the train coming or going, whether it's to Elburn or whether it's going downtown.
We have not changed the size of the structure from the first thing that we submitted to the board. We've always accounted for the third rail. We originally thought it was going to be a 15-foot track center. It was later we found out that maybe there's a 22-foot option that was considered. So the size of the building is only changed by half a foot from the option to another.
Okay, all right. That was my question. Thank you.
Mayor, a few things. Beginning with the communication and moving things forward, I think it's important that things move as fast as possible. I know that there are grants that are tied in this, as well as TIF, which is, this is the year of retirement for that particular TIF, so sooner is definitely better, and I think we should explore every avenue to make sure the communication is good. I don't know who's been involved in that, but perhaps particularly your title block here, State of Illinois Department of Transportation, Senator Kimberly Lightford and Representative Chris Welch might, it might be helpful if they were to get involved with helping communication move forward. I know over a decade when I was dealing with some things with the Union Pacific, particularly Senator Kimberly Lightford intervened, and it did make a difference. So I think we should reach out and see if we could leverage that. Secondly, well, some small points on the building layout. In both instances, if it's possible, to not have those doors swinging to the egress path right near where the entry points are and the exit points are for that. You got a janitor's closet, mechanical room, the doors, swinging in that path. I don't know if that needs to be that way, if it's based on some model, but I would recommend having those doors swing off to the side if at all possible. You want to make sure that you don't get anything clogged up when people are trying to get out, in and out. So I believe you got time to explore that. From the plan standpoint and presentation-wise, it is, you guys are partnering SGM with okay, because the black and white engineering drawings at the small scale, you guys can read those very well, but I don't believe that many others would be able to make much out of that. So I would ask that you partner up and use some SketchUp or some Google Earth techniques so that people will actually be able to see what all that means. You basically have parking, which is for the benefit of those who can't see the drawing. A new building structure, a new platform, and along Main Street, two different schemes, one having 27 parking stalls, and the other one having somewhat less, I believe 20. Both of those showing 2 handicap stalls, by the way. I don't know if 2 is going to work for the one with the 27. But I thought it was a little strange, and maybe there's a reason why the handicap parking is the furthest away from the building. I do know that there's a ramp, a long ramp, in order to get you from the grade level all the way up to that. But it just looks a little bit strange. Maybe you can explain to me why that makes more sense to have the handicap travel the furthest distance to get to the train. And but in any case, if you can put this in color and make it so that we can read it and be able to show it on the screen, that's going to mean a lot more for us. So in subsequent presentations, I would ask that an effort be made to do that.
Certainly, we can adjust our presentation. The reason the handicap spaces are at the far end of the parking lot is because of the length of the ramp that's required to get up to grade. There's a pretty significant grade change there, I think it's about 5 feet. And so if the handicap spaces were closer, we end up having to wind them around to get the required grades to get up to the platform, which would take quite a bit of parking spaces to make that happen.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming out, appreciate it. That concludes our new business. Item number 11 is public comment.
Public comment, would you please come to the mic, give your name, your address, face the board, and please do not make any comments about the board. Who's still record? First of all, first on production. When we had Tinky here before, we paid Tinky $5,000 to first get the water out. First thing he said was the derogatory to the community. regards to the, item number T, consideration to approve U.S. water and fire restoration services. If someone's gonna do work on my house, I have to have a contract. Why wouldn't a village have a contract for work that's gonna be done in the village? I don't understand that. That's not business. And as far as the, soldiers and village homes, now, Mr. Trustee Rogers said that you've had 4 architects already take a look at that building. Then why are we gonna pay $7,500 for another architect to take a look at that building? What's more, Mr. Rogers, Trustee Rogers is an architect himself. So if we need that building inspected, why wouldn't he do that for us? That's my question on that. And the people are wondering, attorney, can you tell these people the law about the Open Meeting Act, about telling your address, that we don't have to tell our address? Let them know that we don't have to do that. Thank you. Lawyer Clay? I can't move you.
Good evening. Good evening. Gloria Clay, 1836 South 6th Avenue. I have 3 comments I'd like to make, and I'm not throwing this out to anyone in particular. The last couple of Sundays, I was up at Winfield Scott, and I witnessed a lot of senior, I'm saying late 40s, 50s, and 60s. They were actually coming together. I have never felt so comfortable around a group of people that were there playing ball, ladies and men. They were playing ball. One of them even, he said to me, Mama Clay, he says, I'm 67 years old. If I hit the ball, would you run? I told him I couldn't even walk around the base, let alone run. But my point I was trying to make is that I felt so good, that networking and that fellowshipping was so good.
Yep.
You have to come, and I'm encouraging and asking the board to please make an outing out there. They start right after church at Winfield Scott, 17th Avenue. You don't have to bring anything. Everything out there has a tent. They have grills, they're cooking. I mean, no matter where you stop, there's something to eat and they offer you, and they make you welcome to it. I would urge our trustee board, our mayor, anyone to go out there and just witness what fellowshipping and friendship is really about.
Bring your own
No, don't go as a trustee,
Right.
just go as a person
Right.
that's interested in fellowshipping with your fellow man I think it's on up at Winfield Scott, on 19th Avenue. Honest to God, you will not be able to come back and say what a wonderful time you would have had. I had a great time up there, and I said in my car, bring your chairs, bring anything you would like. And I want to say to the chief of police that the police officers did come, they do drive by, they do maintain order. Kudos go out to our police department because they never want to stop to give anybody any trouble. They just want to make sure no trouble starts. I never saw one person out there was pants below his butt.
That's right.
I never saw one curse word. I never heard one. They're gonna have their fun. They're gonna drink their beer. They're gonna talk, but they're very respectable with it.
Yep.
You have to come out and witness what it's like to be around people. I don't mean just the $50 and $75 plate dinners. I'm talking about just plain people like you and I. It's amazing the friendship and the fellowship you find out there. You have to come out there, and I encourage you to please come out there. Let them see you, not just at election time. Let them see you out there, wanting to be a part of the village. That's what it's all about. It's wonderful. You have to come out there and witness it for yourself. The other thing I want to ask this, Mr. Trustee Rivers. I know you have played a big part in this, and I just want to find out, when are the alleys gonna be started, and when will they be complete? I know this has been your baby for some time, and we've been begging for these alleys to be done. I'd just like to know when they're gonna get started, and when do you think that it will be completed? The last thing I want to know, maybe from the manager, during the youth program, there was a couple of, what do you call it, I can't remember now, containing, for ice chests, I guess, I don't know, pardon? No, they were for water, to hold water, coolers.
The amount of time you spent already.
I'm sorry, I'm getting to the end. Coolers in front of the mayor's office. It's leaking water, it's getting into the carpeting. Not too long, and that carpet is gonna start to smell and it's gonna start to mold. When are you going to move those coolers so that water is no longer gonna be a problem? It looks terrible, and it's gonna start smelling equally as bad, and it's a health hazard. It needs to be moved. But the last thing I wanna say is, please, get out there Sunday and take a look. It starts at 1 o'clock right after church. We even have ministers and deacons out there that put the whole park together to have prayer before they start anything. You gotta go out there, you gotta do this for yourselves. Thank you and have a great day.
Mary May Larry?
Good evening. Mayor Perkins, under community announcement, if I could allot me a little bit more time if needed. First of all, good news in reference to our community summer feeding project. It ends this Friday, August the 22nd. By that time, if the numbers hold, we have submitted to our youth under the age of 18, 10,010 lunches. Let's celebrate ourselves. Deference to Mayor Perkins for embracing this idea with the young people, and we could not have done it without the brains, and always take brains for any project and for any project to be successful. Mr. Nathan Lee with Nate Cumming Inc., we applaud your effort, and I must say this, Mayor Perkins, just for a sidebar and for a point of reference, even when the current board rejected his idea, he still persevered. And I give accolades to that, the spirit of perseverance. Celebrate your own. Celebrate your own. And in conclusion, Mayor Perkins, I would that either this board or the newly elected board members next year would allot a partial land for a free community garden within our own community. Also, I would that during the fall, I propose next year to have a fall harvest with pumpkins and hayride. Let's also support our community day on August 29th, directly behind you at the 5th Park, between the windows of 2 and 6. Let's build a community from within.
Larry Shapiro?
Larry Shapiro, 4017 St. Paul Avenue, Bellwood, Illinois. Come here on behalf of the Maywood Senior Club with at least 12 of our members here to share our frustration with you as regards the 200 building. I'm delighted to hear comments from the mayor, comments from the manager, that the frustration that we have is not ours alone. Two things I would like to do, share with you my observations as I visited our 200 building yesterday and indicate to you the impact that has made it hard for the seniors. We've been there since July of 2008, almost every Friday. And ever since the flood, we do appreciate the Maywood Park District taking us in, but our home is the 200 building. And I want to talk about the impact with not being there. First of all, I went there yesterday and I was absolutely appalled. The room was all full of equipment. In fact, it was full of everything except workers. There was not a single worker there. The kitchen had nothing in it. The men's bathroom had nothing in it. The place that used to be our storeroom was totally and completely empty with no shelves. We had been given some assurances that it would be ready by August. My understanding, the contractor came to this board and made the same representation. You look at that building now, I can't imagine that they're going to be able to open it anytime soon. The impact has been great. By going over to the Park District, we had to switch to Thursday. Many of our members have set doctor's appointments and other things for Friday, and no longer could participate with us. We have members that prepare and cook and serve all of our wonderful homemade nutritious dinners, lunches, and have had their supplies in our supply room in the 200 building. All of our plates, all of our forks, our foodstuffs, our canned goods. With being at the Park District, every week, 5 or 6 of our members have to bring boxes of different things every single week, just enough to be able to prepare. Additionally, the kitchen at the Park District does not have a working stove, which of course limits what we can prepare. Also, 2 of our members, Irma and Joe Johnson, have to bring in every week bingo prizes just for that week for, to put for the week, rather than having all of our prizes stored in our storeroom in the 200 building and just taking out what we need. And so I'm just here to just share those things with you and ask you if we can all together continue to work as hard as we can. I'm not here to point fingers, I'm here to point out facts. And the fact is that the 200 building has been a home to us. It's been wonderful. Additionally, the other events we've had for seniors, we couldn't do this year. We couldn't have the Proviso Township assessor come and do the senior freeze. We couldn't have the organization that gives free legal services come. We couldn't have Westlake come and do a free health fair. We couldn't have Jesse White's people do a senior event, super senior event, and do free new renewal driver's licenses, eye tests, and
to speak to Mrs. Clay's questions. I personally, I have tried to shepherd this thing through, and just to kind of give you a little timeline, Hancock Engineering, they provided us with maps of the entire village. I think it was last week, and the planning has started. The engineer, Mark, is going to sit down with our village manager and also Strum and his people, and they're going to map out. I spoke to him, matter of fact, I spoke to him Thursday, and he indicated that what they're going to do is they're going to map out the particular areas that they're going to grade and roll, and it'll be up to me and who else we can get. I know Trustee Lightfoot and Trustee Doris and Jaycox are going to help with the notification of residents that live in that area. Because the only thing they require is that you don't have, there's no cars, no garbage cans, and no piles of garbage in your alley. Because they want to make a clean swap through the alley and continue. So when they, let me know which area they're gonna do and when they're gonna do it, we will be going, door to door and just dropping notices in, mailboxes of residents to let them know, be sure not to have your car and not to have anything, in the alley. So the machine can just come through and the roller can come through and make a, or I'm sorry, Mr. West will be part of that circle. To, you know, so it's a clean sweep, and it won't be obstructed, because if there's a car or something in that alley, they'll have to stop, because that machine can't go around cars. It's not that nimble.
My question also is the time frame. Are they gonna do any of it this year?
Trustee
At
Cross.
all?
Excuse me.
Trustee Cross.
Can I get clarification? Did I hear Trustee Rivers indicate that Hancock has provided part of the board with maps and information? Because I have not received any of this that you're referring to. And then the second question I have is if you could clarify, did I hear you say that some of the board members have been talking to the Strum?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so could you refer to who you, when you say I've been or we've been talking to, could you be specific? You know, because I know we've been on summer hiatus, but it would help the public as well as me as a trustee to know what you're referring to. Thank you.
Okay, to answer one of your questions, I stated that I had spoken to Mr. Strum. Mr. Strum and I had kind of worked out the wrinkles, and we brought it to the board, and the board approved it.
That's where I was trying to get clarification on. Is this something that we're doing now as board members? Is we're going to?
We voted on it approximately.
I don't think we've designated anyone or delegated anyone from this board to go and talk to any contractor. And so if we're talking about making a decision that is going to affect the community, that's a conversation that has to be in a public setting such as this, so that all questions can be asked as well as heard by every board member, not one or two.
Trustee, it was on the agenda. I think you voted against it or whatever, but you had the opportunity to ask any questions when we brought it up, when it was brought up.
Mr. Strum has never been present at a board meeting that I have been present at.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is something that I'm learning about tonight for the first time. And
No.
I don't believe,
I
I'm saying when you say you engage in a conversation directly
I
with
beg to
him,
differ.
I don't think we've ever given you that approval as a board to represent us. I'm sorry, that's not in order.
As I stated, to answer your question, Ms. Clay, it should be done because they started late, and this is an asset to this village, and it will be well received. And to go through all of this, I'm not about it. I think the residents will speak on the conditions of our alleys, and just to grandstand, and you did not. You had a chance, because you had a chance to vote on this motion, and you voted, I think you voted against it. But however,
I didn't vote at all, I'm just asking.
no, I'm speaking to that, but speak to your question, to speak to your question.
The debris and all, and the weeds that's in the alleys now,
Mayor?
Mhm.
is that gonna be cleared out
Man, I'm
before
trying to
they
get-
come through the alley? That's all
Please,
I'm asking.
please, let's have an orderly meeting. First of all, there's not supposed to be any back and forth between the audience and the board, because you have did point of order to me many times about that. So, Mr. Myers, would you answer the questions that was directed to the board, please?
Madam President,
We'll have Mr. Myers.
but the question was directed to me.
And the question should not have been directed to you because of the fact that Mr. Myers does that. Mr. Myers, who I answered first, and then he will respond to the board if there's additional information that wants to be given out. Mr. Myers, would you please?
Well, in regards to Ms. Clay, talks have been performed between our engineer along and Mr. West, Mr. Strong. John, Mark, and you guys elaborate on time frame when we're going to get started with that.
In our discussions with Strong on the telephone, they were anticipating at the very middle of September, to end of September, time to complete that work, weather permitting. I mean, if it's raining, they'll be pushed off a little bit further. They can't do it when it's excessively wet.
The other question I asked, the breathers in the alleys now, will some of you come through and clean those alleys out before they get in there?
I believe per the terms of the agreement, that the village makes a pass through there and takes all that material out before it is. That's the agreement, so that's what we're working from, is what was the agreement handed to, or approved by the village board.
Okay,
So
Mayor.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question for the manager. Okay.
Let him finish with this and then come back.
Well, it relates to this
I know that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're gonna let Mr. Rivers make his comments after Mr. Myers has finished speaking to the portions that came up. Then in additional, we'll refer to Mr. Rivers, and then after that, we'll refer to me. Let's try to run it like that, because we don't need the back and forth. And Ms. Clay, you know for a fact that you're not supposed to question any of the board back and forth.
I apologize, Mayor, I wasn't questioning the board, I was asking a question.
But I'm saying, once you made your statement.
Okay, I apologize.
And the only reason I say that, they have gotten on me terribly for that action.
Okay.
Point of order, point of order, point of order.
I apologize.
That's what I'm saying. And you know that, so rather than for me to get out of point of order, I'm trying to control this meeting.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Accept my apology.
Ms. Myers.
Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and respond to the public comments. Ms. Lucille Redmond, thank you for making us aware regarding what took place with Freshcomb regarding the production that took place. I think the board made a good decision to digest what we have, and we will make sure rules and regulations are followed. In regards, you asked the question, was various architects been through the Soldiers Home, and we have a board member that's an architect, it'll be a conflict of interest. We had our board member perform an architectural service. And second of all, we're not paying Mr. Heisman just to perform an inspection. This is actual, he's actually redesigning the porch from a structural standpoint. Instead of us just hiring a contractor to come out and replace it, taking their word for it, we're hiring a design professional to take the time to go through and put the plans together so we'll know and bring options back to the board in order to comply and make sure that the building is safe. And I really thank Mr. Lucas for giving information regarding the condition of it and the history behind it. Mary Larry, thank you very much regarding the community garden. If I'm not mistaken, I know we currently have 2 gardens here. We will be having further discussion regarding that. One of our trustees, Trustee Lightfoot, is very adamant about gardening. So we'll definitely be bringing something back to the board regarding if the board decides to go that route. Mr. Shapiro, I think we addressed your comments earlier. We are discussing regarding what's taking place with the 200 building, and we will make sure we get things in order to be addressed. That concludes my comments. And I think one question was brought to Mr. Attorney, correct? Could you address that one?
Yes, Ms. Redmond asked about the Open Meetings Act in relation to stating your name and address. The Open Meetings Act actually doesn't specifically address name and address at all. What it does say is that local governments have to provide an opportunity for people to give public comment, and that opportunity can be pursuant to rules adopted by the governing body. And so in the case of Maywood has adopted procedures for public comment, which include that a participant provide their name and address.
Can you reiterate? I was told that to 125 Madison and to visit our council chambers, in which I did. And when I came this morning to visit the council chambers, there I found out that there was a for-profit organization that was using the village facilities, using our chamber to conduct business. And I would like to ask Mr. Myers. Mr. Myers, since you are the village manager and you are responsible for all village property, rentals or whatever, can you tell me whether or not that entity this morning, it's a staffing company, and the staffing company was holding their interviews in our chambers. So first of all, I'd like to know whether or not you were aware. Secondly, I'd like to know whether or not, was there any rental? So if you could answer those two questions, because this is not the first time that this has happened. Trustee Lightfoot and myself, approximately 2 months ago, it was brought to our attention that our chamber is being used for just a myriad of things. And by being the village manager, for him not to know and him not to give his okay, I think, first of all, it's a liability. If someone gets hurt in our chamber, that makes us liable. And for the village manager not to know what goes on, or not to be asked, and not be given opportunity to give his permission for this to go on, that is one of my main reasons why I'm asking Mr. Myers that you really look into moving the office of the village president over to 40 Madison. As I stated again, the area where all of our village business is done, all of our village heads, our department heads are located, it is out of sight and out of mind. And I saw that and I was quite disturbed with that. And like I said, that's the second time that I've seen that done. So I would like for you just, to elaborate. Did you know? If you did know, if you gave your okay, fine. I think I know where the okay came from. But, I think I know. I just like, you don't know. So
Trust Rivers, I was not aware.
No problem.
Mayor, Trustee Cross.
My question is directed at Mr. Myers. Mr. Myers, you have been serving as the acting village manager. And as the acting village manager, you are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the village as a whole. And this board is only to have dialogue with you and your staff as it relates to the issues of the village, and we vote on it. So the question that I have is based on Trustee Rivers just giving an update to the public about the transaction that is pending with regard to Ray Strong Company. Why is it that you were not engaged in the conversation with that company instead of a trustee? And you are the one that is responsible by the statutes to run the day-to-day. This is not a mayoral form of government. This is a managerial form. And the law says that the village manager is supposed to oversee this. So I'm trying to understand why you would not have been engaged in that conversation as opposed to trustees. And I do believe, Mr. Mars, you can validate that trustees, the elected and appointed board, excuse me, are not to be interfering with the day-to-day operations. So is that correct or is that incorrect?
That's correct. The role of the board in a managerial form of government, a statutory manager form of government, which Maywood has, is legislative. They set policy, direction, and they manager is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the village.
Thank you.
Trustee Cross, in regards to your statement, I was not aware of the conversation that was just indicated with Trustee Rivers. Once the contract was signed, was strong, I forwarded over to our engineer, our village public works director to take the charge, delegate to get the meeting set up and get the process started.
Mayor, I just want to add one other point to this. This is one of the biggest problems that we have, and that is the interference of the board. To have these sidebar meetings and conversations with contractors and developers, it is out of order, it is against the law, and we need to stop it, okay? When you talk about liabilities and the things that are occurring in the village about other issues, this is one of them, and this is one of the serious ones, because you are interfering with a process that is supposed to come to the full board for a decision and not as individuals. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. I don't know, Mr. Myers, you may be able to answer them, but I wanted to know, are we now, as elected officials, receiving mileage reimbursements? Because I saw that on Bill's list tonight. I also wanted to know, when did we start paying $125 for each yard of grass that we cut? I didn't know that cost increased and we accepted to pay it. I want to go back to the question I had regarding the mayor's assistant and the staffing company. Now, when you go through and add up all of the dollars that we have paid this Dempsey staffing company, we're looking at over, right now, $2,500 plus between July and August. So my question is, how long do we anticipate paying a service while paying an employee to do the same job? I just want to know. The other question I have is that there were also a lot of reimbursements on this bill list this week, and many of them had to do with reimbursements from, unfortunately, your people in your office, Mayor. And they were listed as the IDNR, which is the Illinois Department of National Resources program. So my question is, if our youth have to wait to get paid when that funding comes in, if there are reimbursements, why are our adults getting reimbursed from the general fund for something that was done for the program? If our youth have to wait, our adults should wait. And so I'd like an answer as to why we are reimbursing our adults and making our children wait. The next one would also have to do with the timesheets. I received phone calls regarding students who worked same amount of time, but one student received a certain amount, another student received another amount, and both students worked the same amount of time. So I wanted to know, Mr. Myers or Chief Talley or Mayor Perkins, who's gonna handle fixing that. And I was also made aware of this job fair or interview process that Dempsey Staffing is holding in this council chamber. As long as I've been here, I've never known this village, and things can change, I get that, but I've never known us to rent out this council chamber to our residents. I take offense when someone is utilizing our facility and they're not even a resident. And if the village manager didn't know about it, I'm sure there were no fees paid to accommodate for our lighting, air conditioning, or whatever else was used. So those are just some questions. I don't need to have this meeting. I don't want to belabor this meeting, but if you guys could just respond to those questions, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustee Doris, I can address just the timesheet issue. Okay, just as a hypothetical example, you were at the 7th District Congressional Parade. There were 15 students that were out there. Okay, those students, that was a work day for them because that was part of the whole zeitgeist of the whole activity that we were doing. Those students will be getting paid. Similarly, the program ended on that Friday, which was the 15th, of August. So if you had a student, if we were paying 7.5 hours, per day for the entire week, when they left on the 15th, that ended their pay. Those students who would elect to do a Saturday enrichment, which would have been the parade, they would be getting that extra pay, and that'd be reflected on the timesheet. Okay, we did have a spot check audit today by IDNR, and they were successfully satisfied with how we were conducting, the distribution of the pay. Just so that we made everyone sign a document that said that they were going to get 2 checks. It wasn't per hour or per period. It was just 2 checks, period. So that if the kids that got paid for the first part of the end of July, it was delayed, yes, because we had to process the paperwork. But anything absent that they didn't get for August, the second distribution installation from the government has been dropped into our accounts, and they will be cleared, and they'll get, by the end of August, like we promised, they'll get their second check, 2 checks. Okay, so whatever is in their minds, it was identified to them and their parent specifically that they were going to get 2 checks. That's it. There was nothing to discuss distribution of those checks.
We have Lanya going to respond to Trustee Morris' question.
To respond to a possible reason for the difference in checks, had to do with the W-4s that were filled out. Some of the students elected to have taxes taken out, and others elected not to. So that was one reason that they would have saw a slight difference in their check based on taxes. To answer your question regarding the reimbursements were part of the $35,000 that you guys approved. Only the salaries of the students and the supervisors were paid from the grant money. So a lot of the supplies that were needed to make the grant run, members of the mayor's office, mostly the mayor, will go out and purchase the flowers or the soils and that for them to have materials to work with. And because she wasn't aware of what the price might be, she would spend her own money and then come to get a reimbursement. And for the staff that was paid out of that, again, it was part of that $35,000, and we just paid them on our pay dates, the village pay dates.
So, the reimbursements that are in this, that we approved tonight,
Are part of the $35,000 to run the grant.
and that's out of our general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Only the salaries are from the grant of the children and their, the immediate supervisors.
So we are making sure that even though the $35,000 is in our general fund, someone is making sure that that section of money doesn't go over or anything like that.
Right.
Okay.
Lanya,
Yes.
are you able to address Trustee Doyle's other question about mileage reimbursement?
The mileage that I believe she's speaking of is the deputy clerk. She went on a trip. That's the only mileage.
The mileage she's referring to is mine, and I don't have a car, so I am entitled to the mileage because the past mayor had a car, and he didn't have to pay for gas and none of the above. So, for 1 year and X amount of months, you have not paid me for no gas, and I started taking the mileage. And it goes to the fact that it's the same as what you were doing for the mayor. So my mileage, which for the first time I took, and what Trustee Doyce is referring to, for the first time I took it. Thank you.
Let me just state for the record that I don't mind you getting that. However, as Trustee Cross stated earlier that we all need to be made aware of things, that has not been happening since I've been sitting on this board, and that's why I asked the question. If that is your reimbursement, fine, get it. If you do it, get it. I just did not know that that was beginning to transpire.
And the
Nothing
reason,
more, nothing less.
the reason that it transpired for a year and X amount of months, you have not given me any gas money or none of the above. And that's why it was on there, and there's no problem. I will answer anything you want to ask me. Any question you got, you can ask me, and we can have the discussion anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, and last statement, John, could you address this when Trustee Doris asking about the yard, $125 for cutting the grass, that what you're
Yes.
Well, the grass cutting for summary basis is based upon what's written to us by community development, what services they request, whether it's just cutting the grass, trimming the bushes, cutting down a tree, removing debris. So if it's just grass cutting, the price would probably be less, but the summary abatements generally don't come in and just cut the grass. Just remove all the debris, trim the edges, cut everything else, so the prices vary up and down. We really have a ceiling which they don't go past, but baseline pricing generally for this year has been around $75. But if it's some additional stuff to some property that the community development has requested to be removed, then the price will go up.
The vendor that we used for cutting grass, have they paid what they owe to the village?
The ones that we currently are still allowed to use.
That particular vendor,
I don't know which one it is.
Global Estates?
I don't think we're allowed to use them anymore.
So what we just approved to pay tonight is the last time that they will be used?
Probably so. I mean, I think the last invoice that I submitted for them was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I don't know what you're looking at.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mayor, in this discussion, it was announced that the summer youth program ended last week or on the 15th? On Friday. Wasn't that supposed to be a 2-month ending at the end of August?
The kids went back to school.
So whatever funds for the salaries that was not used, we have to return back to the state?
Correct.
We could not have hired some of the other kids who were not going back to school yet?
95% of the kids went back to school.
Okay, all right. Okay. The reason why we were not informed of that prior to tonight? I mean, whose decision was that to end it on Friday?
Mr. Talley and myself, Chief Talley and myself made that decision. I didn't want to get into this, and I'm not going to get into this, so please, see me afterwards and I'll explain anything you want to ask me about that program. Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to say that I'm not trying to be argumentative or confrontational. I'm just saying that that's one of those other decisions that has to be made by the full board and not by individuals. And no disrespect to you or Chief Talley, but that grant came in, doesn't matter who applied for it, how it got here, it came to the village of Maywood, and all I'm saying is that if this board does not stop just doing things on the side without the full board's approval, then we're gonna be in a lot of serious trouble. And I'm just bringing that out, and, you guys can continue to do what you do, but, you'll suffer the consequences, that's all.
Before we end, Mayor, with all due respect, I would like the board, if we can go back to item T under the omnibus. And the reason for that, we have Mr. West here to comment regarding the questions that came forth. And by us tabling this, our next board meeting is September 16th. And that will just prolong the project not being completed as far as the 200 building. So if we can, Mayor, if that's okay, Mr. Turner, give direction on to bring this item.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Trustee Cross.
If it's tabled, how do we,
You're not supposed to have discussion after the table,
well, that's what I'm saying, so why are we,
Mr. Martin.
help me?
Well, it wasn't tabled at any specific date. If you guys want to hear additional information and someone who voted in favor of the motion to table wants to make a motion to remove it from the table.
It was tabled, and so it shouldn't be up for discussion until we bring it back on the agenda, is that not? Are you saying that we're gonna change this now? Because the individuals who were here at the time we were discussing it were here at that time. And before it even got to the conversation of tabling, there was an opportunity to present whatever it is that needed to be presented.
I guess the proper motion would be if somebody wanted to make a motion to reconsider the table based on the fact that Mr. West is now here, that would be acceptable.
Right, but all I'm saying is for correction purposes, we can't have, the manager can't ask to have something put back on the table like that. It has to be one of the board members that has to make that motion, and it has to be second. And that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Mayor, I made the motion to table. My motion to table was to table the approval, not discussion. I think anything that leads to progress, we need to pursue. Using every avenue to delay progress makes no sense to me at all. Our number one thing is to be stewards of this village and to make progress. And so if we can have a discussion which leads to that progress, to me it's important to do that. And all those other things are secondary in my view. And so I would entertain asking the questions because what was tabled was the approval. We're not looking to do an approval, but the information that leads to us being able to make good decisions as stewards of this village are important. And I would certainly entertain and make, I don't know that we need a motion to have to have the gentleman speak to that issue.
Right, that's a fair point that the motion was to table the approval. So I think you could have discussion, and if based on that discussion, somebody wants to make a motion to reconsider the table.
So you would have to make the motion.
Yeah, approve.
But not to have
Discussion.
That's what I'm saying, is it clear you're saying it's okay for him to take the table off and to have the discussion, so it's not clear what you're saying. Not trying to be funny, it's not clear. So he'll know exactly what it is he's supposed to do, and the board will know exactly.
Right, if the consensus of the board is they would like Mr. West to go ahead and discuss this, you can do that without a motion.
Mayor,
Trustee Crawford.
for clarification purposes, can the clerk read the motion that was made? Because the reason why I thought Trustee Rogers made a motion, he tabled it, was because the discussion centered around the fact that this is $450-something thousand, and we did not have a contract. Mr. Myers could not answer the questions, and he had said that he would have to look into it and get back. So if it was presented tonight to be on the agenda for approval, it says consideration to approve payment. So if it's tabled for the reasons of the prior discussion, why are we bringing it back now? Because we still don't have the answers to the questions that centered around the initial conversation. That's all.
Mayor, the point is to get to having someone who has material knowledge on that, or to determine whether or not the knowledge that he has is material to that. So it's really not about approval. It's about learning what we need to learn to keep this thing from endlessly going on and not having progress, which it seems to be. I don't know why people get off on delaying things, but I'm here for progress. And so if we can make steps toward that progress tonight, let's do that. Let's have that conversation. Doesn't have to be any vote about anything. Let's get the testimony out so that we have an understanding about what's going on. Subsequent to that matter, by the way, there was public comment from the seniors group or representatives of the seniors group about how important that building is. So that came up since the table motion. we need to do whatever we can do to make the progress to get that village-owned property in working order as soon as possible. That's what we're here for.
Mayor,
That's the problem.
what is lame is when we make decisions and we do not have the background information to make these decisions. So I sympathize with the seniors, but I know the seniors do not want to go into a building that is not properly equipped, that will create safety problems for them, first and foremost. Second to that, we heard testimony even from the senior representative, Mr. Shapiro, that when he entered the building, which I questioned, why would he be allowed to be in there? That's a liability issue. If it's in a situation where we cannot have the building open, then he should not have been permitted to be there in the first place. Third to that is the fact that we heard tonight that not only do we not have a contract, but we have things scattered all over the building and no workers. So that contract is very important because we need to address why there has been a holdup in the situation. And if it means that we need to come back and talk about, okay, you're charging us $452,000, but you haven't stayed in compliance with what we agreed upon. You know, in my world, we would be talking about some discounts and some reductions. See, I'm not gonna be paying premium dollars and not get the service. So,
Mayor,
that's what's lame.
Mayor, I'm not really interested in any approvals tonight, but I am interested in hearing what the staff has to say about that. He wasn't in the room at the time, and now he is. I think it's important to hear what he's got, so that we know what we're working with. I think the other thing about a contract, I don't know if this is a contract issue, when you have work that is being done because an insurance claim, that's different than a contract. Basically, when you have a claim, the insurance company is usually the one who would be responsible for sending out whoever it is that does the remedy. In which case, they would probably know more about any contract. But they're sent to fix up whatever the claim is. And so, I'm at this time, Mary, if you are interested in bringing forth the gentleman so that he can give some information on that, I would certainly like to hear it.
Mayor, just one other point. That statement is not true. Insurance companies are not responsible for finding you the contractor. They pay you. That's the only thing that they're supposed to do. Now, you can ask them for a reference and a referral to reputable companies, but that's not their job. And I just don't want the public to leave here with that misconception of what you just heard.
Yes, I do. I wanted to come up.
Do we have a, did I not hear you say that we had to have a motion?
No,
Or something,
not for him to just comment.
just,
I mean,
even though it's tabled?
if you want to revisit the table later or reconsider, then you need a motion. But for him to come up and comment is okay.
John, could you please come up?
I didn't know that we could table stuff and then turn around and open up the discussion. We're not shooting the messenger. We're not.
Kind of listen, I don't know what the actual question was, kind of listening to the rhetoric going back and forth. Let me address that, no, there is no contract. The board originally approved for us to use USA Restoration, but that was prior to us knowing that we had insurance that could cover the event. At that time, I put USA Restorations and Hanover Insurance in touch with each other. That was our insurance group. They have gone back and forth. They wrote out a proposal. USA wrote out a proposal to Hanover Insurance, explaining to them the scope of work that they would be doing, everything that was going to be replaced. Hanover brought out assessors, checked the quality of what they wanted to get done and versus the price that was being put forth to Hanover. Hanover disputed a few things, but in the end, they wrote a summary back approving the work that USA was doing, the scope of what they were going to do. So they sent the village funds, based on that. In terms of the contractor himself, they had already begun the work and expended pretty much all of the money that, is being set forth for approval. They just recently began asking for money, since submitting invoices for reimbursement of their costs. We have reimbursed them to this point about $200,000, maybe a little over. And the rest of the bills are being, between the finance director and myself, we have been having intensive discussions with USA Restorations to make sure that the invoicing met the criteria that we needed, because we will have to explain everything that's paid out to the insurance group. The urinals, the floor, gym floor, as well as the hallway flooring has not been installed. It was supposed to be done prior to this week, but the original subcontractors that they had weren't able to get here, and there was a monetary concern. They had the gym flooring they had to give an additional $100,000 in order to give the subcontractor $70,000 to begin, which was part of their original agreement with Hanover Insurance. So at this time, I'll kind of back off and find out what the actual questions were. I just wanted to give a brief synopsis before I take my hits.
I didn't have a question. I asked about contract and.
No, there's no contract.
Yeah, well, I heard that, but you know what I mean, it's supposed to be giving people $457,000 and not having anything in writing that says that there's a timeline and what they do, because when you start giving people your money, you have no contract, and when they decide they don't want to do the work as quickly as you want it or need it to be done, you have nothing to stand on.
No,
So I'm just.
I understand, we pressed them, but in terms of the actual money, the money is not something that's coming out of the village coffers. This is the insurance reimbursement. So the insurance company and that contractor, so that we would be out of it because of the mix-up in terms of whether we had or whether we didn't, and what they originally proposed to do for the original price. I put them in contact with each other to make sure that the scope and everything that was going to be done or needed to be done at that building would be approved by the insurance group, so that there was not a penny more spent than what had to be spent.
Yeah, I want to just add another point to that. Mr. West, when we just drop it in somebody else's hands, do those things for us, then we tend to have these kinds of problems where people don't respect us and they don't carry through on the process that we agreed to. And I heard what you said, but we have to be a bit more cognizant and overseers over our business and our transaction and our properties. We've left it to two entities that have no interest in here other than collecting a check. The statement that you made about the insurance company, we pay them a premium, okay, and that's why, and the premium's for the coverage for whatever it is we're trying to insure. So when we give them money, it's not up to them to make a decision as to how we spend that. If we decide we don't even want to spend it on that anymore, once we are paid for the services that we invested in through that premium, nobody can tell us what to do with that. But all I'm saying is that when we have timelines and we say, and we approve things based on a timeline, those contracts are important for that reason, because then we can go back to someone and say, you said that you would have this building up and running for us by the end of September. You know, now within a few weeks or so, I understand that, but when it starts getting longer and lingering, contract will help us along the way.
Here's the problem with what you're saying. We originally had 3 vendors that we brought in to give us a price to do the building. We chose USA based on the price that they gave us. Once we found out that we had some additional means to try to pay for it versus going with shortcuts, we stuck with USA. And that's why I put them in touch with the insurance group, so that we could continue along that path, trying to get it done as fast as possible. The real issue that we have here, and I hear what you're saying, in terms of timelines, the contract would have been null and void a long time ago, simply because the insurance group and the contractor were going back and forth. The insurance group kept bringing in additional estimators to come in. They didn't like the original price. They kept bringing in, they brought in 3rd, 4th, 5th parties. So those timelines, that's why they kept getting blown, because the insurance group and the contractor had They were fighting back and forth. I had to step in and tell them either get it done, both of them get up out of here, and we'd have to file and get an independent arbitrator to come in and deal with it. We're still at that stage in terms of one of the processes, which is the drying. But we didn't leave it in anyone's hands. We got involved to make sure that we were trying to get the best service that we could. The problem that we had was that our insurance group was not cooperating with us in terms of trying to get this done in a speedy manner. They did not like the price. They did not want to spend that kind of money. In the end, based on the original scope of work, and once he gave back, the insurance group gave back their concurrence on what the scope of work should be, then they issued a check saying, okay, go ahead and have them finish it up. Well, the contractor had already been working the whole time, spending money directly out of their pockets to deal with. Generally, when you have a contract that big, they ask for a down payment on what they're going to be doing. This contractor continued to work on our behalf. We currently still have a few things that are still outstanding. They gutted the entire building, ripped out the entire flooring, gym and everything else, and started to put the stuff back for the most part. There have been a few hiccups. I mean, certainly we have missed a lot of timelines that we ourselves wanted to have in place, but we never left anything in anyone else's lap. We did it ourselves. We just made sure that the two groups were on the same page so that we wouldn't come to the point where down the line, the restoration group came back to the village and said, you owe us some additional money that the insurance will not approve. We didn't want to be in that boat. I didn't want to have to walk up to the manager, the mayor, or this board and say, I need you all to pull down some money out of the tip. No, it wasn't going that route. So that's why I put them in touch with each other.
And there's only 2 employees that they have assigned to do the work over there?
2 employees?
Yeah, I think I heard somewhere.
No, they've got several different employees, but based on the constant conflicts between the 2 groups, the insurance and the restoration group, the number of employees had to be perfect. If there was a person over there, one person more than what the insurance group thought should be over there, then they wouldn't pay for that and we would be stuck with that cost. So I have made sure that I kept contact with USA Restorations to make sure that they had no one over there that was not needed, that they weren't spending any time over there if no work was being done. Since the subcontractors weren't available to come in to start working last week and early this week, didn't have anyone over there. Because if we have people over there, then we're incurring a charge late. So don't be there until I see work being done. Now, as far as this week has been, I haven't been in the building and extensively gone up and down and looked at it for the reason that I stated earlier in my original message. We got water main breaks all over the place. I've sorted the project from that. I'll take full responsibility for that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good.
Mayor, this is part of public comment, and I apologize for missing this under item number 5 on the announcements. I'd just like to offer condolences to the family of Ruthie Burke, who was a Maywoodian who passed away. She was part of the senior organizations as well, and she's been very active in the community. Also, to say thank you to Mr. Myers and John West for making sure that the gazebo was completed and open and cleaned up for the Old Maywoodians picnic, which turned out really well, and for the village's participation in that. It was very well attended. Everybody had a good time. The park was clean as a whistle, and it was also clean the next day for New World Riders to have their back-to-school picnic as well, which was a motorcycle club here in the village, and that did a back-to-school event for the kids, as well as probably all the other people that are doing back-to-school programs for the kids. The kids need supplies, but Veterans Park was really in good shape. It was clean, with the event on Saturday, and then for them to be out there Sunday morning. So thanks to our Public Works Department and Mr. Myers for having a gazebo ready for everybody to utilize over the weekend.
That reminds me, I'd like to say that our condolence for the village goes out to Mr. James. He worked in the summer program, but his father was a son-in-law of Mr. Cotton, that used to own the, typewriter office on Fifth Avenue. His son-in-law passed. The services will be Wednesday, you can do the body, and Thursday, I believe, is the funeral, but I don't quite have the information on me, but you can check with my office and you can get the information, but it's the son-in-law, Mr. Cotton.
Midwest Business.
Midwest Business was the name of his program, but he was Mr. Cotton for those of you who know that.
Where's the bill date?
Wallace.
Wallace before the 8th tomorrow. And his term is 11 and 12, 12 at Canaan.
Thank you.
Just to echo trustee, Jacobs indicated special thanks to John West, along with staff for, getting everything together for the old timers picture. Really appreciate it.
Move to recess into executive session for the purposes.
There's no recess, it's adjournment. Oh, we know that? No, we said email, the information is not back yet.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
At the library.